The following is a presentation of the St. Louis Chess Club. The battle to determine the next World Champion Challenger is underway at the 2026 FIDE candidates in Cyprus. Fellow countrymen and top seeds faced off out of the gate, with Fabiano Caruana grinding down his opponent for the win. Caruana is in a three-way tie for first, but this event is a marathon, not a sprint. Day 2 of thrilling chess, coming up next.
Hello chess fans, and welcome to round 2 of the FIDE Candidates Tournament. We are here at the beautiful Cap St. George's Hotel and Resort, and this is place for vacations, sea and sun, but chess players have no time to enjoy any of it. They are getting ready for intense fights today. So let's go from this paradise all the way to the battles. It's time to start the action.
Hello everyone and welcome to our show today in chess. I'm your host Nazi Paikidze and I'm here with the one and only Yasser Seirawan.
Nazi, sure looked like Anastasiya was suffering there, didn't it? It's terrible. Hello everyone and welcome to our show. Round 2 of the candidates is underway and it was an explosive start for the first round. Nazi, do the honors. Tell us the standings. Let's start with the men.
Absolutely, yes, sir. What a round 1 we had. We already have 3 co-leaders. Fabiano Caruana, Praggnanandhaa, and Javokhir Sindarov managed to win their games yesterday. Wei Yi and Matthias Blübaum with half points.
And in the women's standings?
And the women's, it was all draws yesterday, and so far they're all sharing first place.
First and last. And tell us about today's pairings.
Absolutely, very exciting pairings for today, round 2. We have Andrey Esipenko facing Hikaru Nakamura, Anish Giri against Fabiano Caruana, Wei Yi playing Praggnanandhaa, and Javokhir Sindarov against Matthias Blübaum.
More exciting games. Maurice, the action's been underway. Who's got the advantage?
Well, the games did commence, and of course you have to forget about yesterday. You have to say it's gone. If you won, it's history. If you lost, it's history. You just have to play the games today. And let's take a look as we jump right in and the action underway. We start with this game, the young Russian Andrey Esipenko, who has just played the move Bishop E3 against Hikaru Nakamura, who lost yesterday with black due to the quirks of the pairing system. Naka gets black twice in a row, and he's at a slight disadvantage now in this Catalan. And he has to be very careful. His pawn on c6, a little bit of a weakness, and it looks like Esipenko looking to trade queens, get some pressure on his opponent. Naka will have to play some precise moves to manage the disadvantage. And we'll go to the other American, his countryman who defeated him yesterday, Fabiano Caruana. And Fabi, with this game against Anish Giri, Fabi dodged a bit of a bullet on the previous move. In this moment, Fabi actually played the move knight to f5. Giri could have gotten a big advantage according to the engine with the move d5, blowing open the position and giving this bishop a lot of breathing room. Both bishops would have created immense pressure on the position. However, his opponent missed it. And so we have this position right here on the board right now. And Fabi needs to manage this one with the black pieces. He doesn't have a great record against Giri, or at least a positive record against Giri. Big game for him. Let's go to one of the co-leaders, the youngster Javokhir Sindarov against Matthias Blübaum, who drew his game yesterday. Javokhir was a bit lucky yesterday, according to him, but we've got to be impressed by his last move. I'm going to go back just a couple of moves. In this position, when you thought development was key, he played the very nice bishop f1, looking to reposition the bishop to the new diagonal and put pressure on Black's king with that pin. A star move, top move according to the engine. Javokhir looks like he might be in great form. We'll see how this game transpires. And finally, the last co-leader, Praggnanandhaa, with the black pieces against Wei Yi, Chinese superstar. And it looks as though Black has played a marvelous French and has completely equalized the position. Could have played a little bit better maybe on the last move, but nevertheless, Black's pieces are mobilized, got great control of the center here. Doesn't look like he's in any trouble. So we have some very dynamic, exciting games. No obvious draws anywhere to my eyes. We should be in for a contentious day.
Sounds good to me, Maurice. Thank you so much for that. And of course, let's remind everybody about the format for this event and determining the challenger.
Let's have a look, Yasser. We have an 8-player double round-robin event. Players are not allowed to offer any draws before Black's 40th move. The time control is 2 hours for the first 40 moves, 30 minutes for the rest of the game, and the increment only starts from move 41.
And the schedule for the candidates.
Players are back today for round 2. They will play a total of 14 games with 4 rest days in between.
Following his crucial victory in round 1, we got a chance to catch up with Fabi and get his perspectives.
Fabiano, congratulations on your victory today. How does it feel as a good start?
Well, it's of course a great start. I mean, any win is very valuable here, especially against Hikaru. But yeah, I did at some point drop the win, so I'm a little bit embarrassed that it was such a winning position, and I made it almost a draw.
Yeah, our commentators had heart attack at this moment, definitely. But I was wondering that during the game, were you concerned a little bit about your time management?
No, not really. I mean, I thought that it was safe. Like, I was looking for some way to play the position for an advantage. But when I went for this d takes e6, and okay, I was much lower in time, but I was just trying to simplify, and it's a very safe position for white. I mean, I was kind of ready for a draw. Like, that was the idea behind d6, that he's going to play b5, we're trading all the pieces in the center, and it's going to be a draw. But he played queen d6, and okay, the game kept a little bit more tension, and if he had played b5, it would definitely be a draw.
And Yasser, they're playing for the first place, of course, but also a lot of money. Minimum prize fund for this event is 700,000 euros. First place takes home 70,000, second place 45, third place 25, but they also get additional 5,000 euros per half point earned.
Oh, very, very nice prize fund indeed. As I've been keeping a watchful eye on the game between Anish and Fabiano, I just wanted to double check on this, but I think Anish has played quite a number of games with Fabiano, and crazily enough, actually has
Positive
a
result.
positive result. So this is actually a very dangerous opponent for Fabi, and it has been a dangerous opponent in the past as well. Anyway, knight f5 was a very challenging move by Fabi, and I agree wholeheartedly that d4, d5 was Anish's best way of playing for the advantage. We actually toyed around as we were coming on the show, and we were looking at this, what appears at first blush to be a pretty blocked position, until you get to a position like this and you see the move f4, and you immediately realize that it's white who has the opportunity whenever he would like of playing for moves like bishop h3 and blasting open in the center. Fortunately for Fabi's fans, Anish actually played a pretty, what's the knight doing on a3 after all? You know,
move.
But it did allow
A lot of trades, and
Fabi
looks like position is equalizing. Is it total equality yet?
You know, it's the weirdest thing, but as a Catalan player yourself, you understand this. You're kind of happy about this long-range bishop, but in some ways, it's not exactly an effective piece.
It's an empty bishop, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's empty, and it's not. I mean, it's the weirdest thing. You get into an ending like this, and I'm not kidding. The knight can actually be a slightly better minor piece. It's weird that after takes, king f8 with the idea of putting the king on e7. And, you know, on a good day, you trade rooks, you go knight, knight, and it's sort of like, wait a minute, you know, the knight's bouncing and the bishop's,
yes, Yasser, and I do think we're heading towards a very equal endgame, and white won't even be playing for anything. Black might try something with the knight, right?
Yeah, slight opportunity. How do they match up?
Let's have a look. In
This
the
is what I was
classical
talking
games,
about.
they have 33 draws,
Wow.
6 wins for Anish, 4 wins for Fabi, +2 against Fabi. That's incredible. I actually listened to the FIDE conference yesterday, and Irene Sukandar asked Anish that he has a better score against Fabi. Does this affect tomorrow's match? And Anish said, well, coming into today, I had a positive score against Prague, and he changed that. So Fabi has a chance to do the same tomorrow.
Well, there you go, indeed. But wow, I mean, when you see that they've played each other a lot, it's not an accident that Anish actually has a better record. I mean, 43 classical games, that's like a good book, just, you know, like on their duels together.
They've been playing each other for 15 years.
Yeah, exactly. Rook to d1, and again, I think the position's very, very balanced. But if anybody could say, I would like to play on, I believe it's now Fabi.
Which is great with the black pieces to come in today and make a quick draw or equalize. He did get a break. That d5 move that Maurice also emphasized, he would have been in big trouble if Anish played d5.
Absolutely. Jumping to the game between Andrey Esipenko and Hikaru, slight interesting twist. Okay.
You also mentioned Hikaru kind of got an unfortunate pairings.
Yes.
Starting with the 2 black pieces and first round against the favorite, Fabiano Caruana. Yesterday, we saw he lost in a very dramatic fashion.
Right.
And now he has to play again with the black pieces and has to defend and equalize first.
Right.
Has he equalized?
No, you couldn't say. The position might be even or so, but you can't say he really equalized, because in this particular line of play, you do get the split pawns as black. The pawns on a7 and c6. And of course, with the half open c file, there's always this danger that the c6 pawn could really be the weakness. However, black gets a rather free game, you might say. The bishop on c8, that normally doesn't have such an active role, suddenly, voila,
Beautiful
opens
diagonal.
up. You can imagine the bishop coming to c5. And because the bishop is coming to c5, that's why we understand the move h2, h3. White wants to play the move bishop e3. It doesn't want to face the consequence of knight g4. And so the players pretty much got to this position. And again, you know, when you're black, you sit there and say, what do I want? I want my fair share of the center. I want active pieces, effective pieces. I want a safe king. So a lot of boxes get checked right here in this position. And then, on the other hand, white says, well, I want all of those things as well. Plus, I've got a little bit that I could play for.
Better pawn structure.
Yeah, but here's the problem. The very desirable move e4, e5 isn't very good.
No, you would be trading your e-pawn for the black's weaker pawn,
Yeah,
c6.
exactly. You want to open up this bishop. So I would say, because black, Hikaru would say, hey, look, I want to...
You think white would have more of an advantage if they traded queens?
Yes.
That's
So
why queen c3.
Queen c3 would be a move I find myself attracted. And how do these two match up with one another?
You know, I'd be surprised if they've played many games. As you can see, wow, even 5 classical matchups is a lot, considering Andrey is pretty young. Hikaru won twice and 3 draws, so definitely an uncomfortable opponent for Andrey.
Beat them while they're young is the expression that we have there. Well, let's go to Javokhir as he's playing against Matthias. And
He starts the tournament with 2 whites. Yesterday, what a roller coaster that game was, but he came out victorious. And if today he wins again.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah, that would be quite the start. I must say that for myself, in the round robin tournaments in particular, whenever I get the number one draw where you start the tournament with two whites, I've always won the tournament.
Wow.
I've always won the tournament. As far as I remember, it's pretty.
So that's a significant advantage.
In
to
my
start with two
case,
whites.
I found that to be true. Starting the tournament with two blacks, like you just said, Hikaru is going to be challenged. Now, this is a very peculiar. Well, no, I wanted to say very peculiar Petrov defense, Russian defense, where suddenly, like the E-pawns are traded like a French defense exchange, right? And somehow it's kind of bizarre to me. Exactly at this point, you would say, "Oh, completely balanced. There's nothing going on. 4 versus 4, 3 versus 3. Black's going to play D5 and start trading pieces." And the crazy thing is, White somehow managed to get something really tangible.
This idea of G3 and moving the bishop from E2 to H3, I think is brilliant for White.
It truly is. I mean, unexpectedly, you start to realize that there's some pressure in the position on White's side of the table. Once you play bishop H3, followed by knight G2, you munch that guy on E6, and suddenly knight F4 starts to show up. You go, wait a minute, where did I go wrong? So Matthias said, this pressure is building up. I got to force, and we do
This
have...
is the current position.
Yeah, I'm assuming we have to capture. But now a new
You
threat
have to worry about F4, F5.
is being introduced. Right.
Actually, how does Black... Well, I guess when White plays F4, there's maybe bishop E4 idea for Black.
Correct. So let's just get out of the pin, right? Let's start with something like this. And if
Do
you...
we take on E6 or... Because you were suggesting earlier bishop should take on E6. In this position, is it still good?
I don't know. Let's have a look-see. Takes, and I'm assuming knight G2, right? So that we can...
Probably bishop D6.
Bishop D6. Again,
Bishop F4, right?
in today's top-level chess, it's like, no, we're not getting decisive advantages out of the opening. What we are trying to do is get playable positions where we're the ones who are doing some pushing. It feels like Sindarov is doing really, really nicely in this position. Let's have a snapshot of this young man.
Yes, let's have a look. He's only 20 years old, the youngest participant in the candidates.
That's crazy.
And he's also already world rank number 12. Absolutely incredible. And he qualified for this event via FIDE World Cup. He won that in the final. He was facing Wei Yi. He defeated him. Incredible. He had a fantastic year last year and beginning of this year. Can someone stop him?
Yeah, well, the Uzbekistan Chess Federation certainly has pride in him. And here, of course, is the German superstar.
Yeah, Matthias Blübaum. He's 28 years old. He did reach 2,700, I think, last year or beginning of this year after Weikenzeb. Dropped a few points after that. He was the runner-up in FIDE Grand Suisse. And he's also the reigning European champion.
Which is saying a lot. That is such a competitive competition. Knight takes G5, H takes G5 on the board. And what did we do? I think we played King.
King C7 is what we looked at.
Now, you were saying, at the moment, I don't feel like capturing the knight is rushed.
Let's start with knight G2.
Knight F5?
Or knight F5, yes.
Knight F5, knight G2. Yeah, I'm having a little trouble there, too. I was thinking knight G2 might provoke bishop takes.
I mean knight F5?
Pardon me, knight F5, bishop takes. I don't know if you can, but knight G2 also has this other nice idea. I mean, it's kind of like this creepy crawly, and Black for the moment still has some issues that he's going to have to solve. And our last game, let's take a look, was Wei Yi versus Prague, and Maurice was mentioning, looked like a French defense where Prague had done all of the magical moves that you want to make in a French defense.
I remember Prague 2 years ago in Toronto in the candidates. He was playing the French as well very successfully. And looks like he stayed
True.
loyal to
Yeah.
this opening.
Exactly. F4, F5.
Wow.
Well, just to go
Apparently
back.
this is all theory up until King H1.
So takes.
Mm-hmm.
I assume Rook AE1, something very standard.
Yes, sir, look at their clock times. There's almost an hour difference.
Whoa.
Pragg definitely is more familiar with this opening and the middle game position they got than Wei Yi. He's down to 33 minutes already.
Wow.
And
That
he still
is.
has, he'll have to make 22 moves in the next 33 minutes.
And how do these two match up with one another?
See if they have a lot of games. Only 3 classical games and all draws. Very solid.
Even Stephen. Exactly. King H1. Okay, I'm a pawn grubber. I don't think I actually get to keep it, but if I take this guy, I guess it's knight G4.
There's some D4. How do you avoid losing a piece?
Oh, I
You
wanted to go bishop H7, but
That's
there's
why
a
King
check.
H1 was
Now we understand. King H1. Let's get to the current position. As we see, this has been a pretty nice maneuver, bringing the rook over. And because this pawn could be under potential pressure after the move knight E4, Wei Yi said, well, let me trade it off and play the move F4, F5.
What do you think about knight E4 right now? That's a move that came to mind as a number 1 candidate move.
Okay.
But it's kind of hard to calculate with all the things happening in the center.
Exactly. It's weird. Just a second.
Because the rook on F1 is kind of hanging, and
True.
I'm trying to take advantage of that right away.
So if I take,
I'll take back.
take.
You can still do that, and after bishop E6, you'll have
Well,
to...
you have a weird, no, that's check.
Yeah, F7 is hanging with a check.
So you have
Oh.
another.
I wasn't happy about the D5 move we have available. Shutting the diagonal down.
That, boy, that ended the music.
Very quickly.
Very quickly.
But after F takes E, can I just retake bishop E6?
Yes. And then I thought, okay,
You only have one move.
yes. Drop
This
back.
looks promising for black. I mean, I have more active pieces. My queen and bishops are kind of better
Looks it?
placed.
Yeah.
The F file.
Yeah, I
says
feel
it's
like
equal.
I've seized the defensive, if I can put it that way, for Wei Yi. Pragg will be very, very pleased coming out of the opening if he were to get this position. Maurice, weigh in on some of these positions, some of the games. Has anything caught your eye?
Yes, actually, I have been inspecting the games of the women's section, and one of the moments occurred that was really had me down a rabbit hole. You know, sometimes you get into a position, you say, what the heck is happening here? And it was this game between Bibisara Asabieva and a former challenger, Alexander Goryachkina. And I just want to show you this position right here that occurred in the opening. Black had actually picked off a pawn on A2. I'm going to back up just a couple of moves so I can show you when this occurred. Takes, and takes. And now the move knight to C4. Of course, it's not so easy for black to get out of the center because the bishop on D7 is hanging. So bishop E6, E4 to get your bishop into the game. And now this move, knight D6. And I was quite intrigued by this moment because black played the best move, king F8, in this position. I was trying to understand, why not go after this knight? How dare you put your knight in my position in such a way? Well, it turns out that white can now play the move queen to C1. Just an absolutely fantastic move. Now, of course, if you take the knight, bye-bye queenie. Thanks for your good misadventure. So queen C1 would have been a fantastic move. However, queen A4 continues the storyline. What's happening here? Your knight is still under attack. The queen has come out. Knight takes B7, allowing queen takes with check. I was sure at first I wanted to play rook to E3, but of course queen B4 wakes you up. So what to do here? Bishop to E2, and this position, according to the engine, is completely busted for black. I mean, yes, the king is exposed, but your king is still sitting in the middle, not so easy to castle. And not only that, your bishop on E2 is pinned, both bishops in these funny squares. But black is currently under severe pressure because this knight is hanging, and there's something else about the position. If you save the knight and threaten mate in one, yay for me, suddenly queen g5 check appears on the board, and that's why the king does not belong on the e7 square. It belongs on f8 just because of this one check. The rook is now fully hanging, and you cannot play king, of course, to d7, knight c5, check, wins your queen. And if you play f6, you're threatening mate, but we keep checking until we get our checks in first. And the best you can do is play this now. And again, there's knight c5. A serious moment in the game, really fascinating. We did not see any of that happen, but it just shows you all these amazing nuances. Let's look at the full pairings for the women today, and you can see Anna Muzychuk. They all drew their game, so this is not anything hypercritical for anyone, but Ukrainian Anna Muzychuk playing against Chinese star Tan Zhongyi. Katerina Lagno from Russia representing FIDE is playing against a top seed Zhu Zhenner, who currently, by the way, is up a pawn in their position, trying to prove that she can keep that pawn advantage out of the opening. The Kazakhstan player Bibisara Asayubayeva playing against former challenger Alexandra Goryachkina, who's the highest rated Russian woman in history, having broken 2,600 at one point. And the two Indian players, Divya Deshmukh and Vaishali, the sister of Praggnanandhaa, are trading blows today as well. So exciting chess all around in this day 2 at Cyprus.
Thank you, Maurice. Now that was a really, really beautiful punch, that queen c1 to g5, because I'm thinking exactly what Maurice was saying. Why isn't the king going to e7? This is looking like, what is white doing? And then suddenly, you know, that whole rook e3 business.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Wow, wow. Where would you like us to go, Nazi?
Well, we do have some updates in the Javokhir game. The others are still thinking, and I thought we could jump back to that game.
Absolutely, because I think that this was a crucial moment here as Matthias just played the move king c7, stepping off the pin and getting ready not only to capture this pawn on g5, but also to develop his bishop. So you've got to be now. Something's got to happen now. We were kind of oscillating between a knight g2, which I think really is a very good move, as you kind of aspire to.
Not revealing what you're planning to do.
Exactly.
Staying flexible.
Or the move knight f5. The reason I kind of jumped forward was this, I really want to make it as annoying for my opponent as possible. You know, sometimes you look across the board and you say to yourself, well, I don't have a really good plan. So what is my opponent up to? I'm just going to like annoy them. I'm not going to let them get in the development scheme that they want. And so I look across the board and say, well, no, my opponent wants to play bishop to d6. Let me stop them. So knight f5 was a little annoying.
Just like you said, the only downside to knight f5 is that black can take it and play g6, and that's exactly what we have right now.
And that's what we, yeah. Okay, so.
I have a feeling that Matthias feels a bit of a relief that he got that bishop out of there and he can finish development now.
Okay, but it's actually a kind of a weird moment because I can go into a rook ending where maybe I can force a weakness. Let me show you. g7, g6. So our eyes are immediately drawn to this idea that vis-a-vis the rook, there could be a potential pin. So I'll go takes, rook takes. I'll give you a check. Now, I don't think you really want me to set up a situation with my bishop coming to e5 and maybe I've got something. So you'll play bishop d6.
Sure.
Okay.
That should be fine in the rook endgame.
You'd think so, right? Until you actually get to here. And then you start to say, well, h4, no.
I don't want to lose that pawn.
So you more or less are going to play rook e8? Yeah?
Yes, I'll go for the open file.
Exactly.
And apparently that's a mistake.
Exactly, because you get to a situation like this, and you kind of say to yourself, well, you'll take on b2. You've got a majority on the queen side. I've got a majority on the king side, but king side majority might be a little, but it might be a little bit, further.
So far, Yasser.
I mean, the engine is saying.
Yes, agrees with you completely.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have said it's this big.
Yeah.
I would just say, you know what, I kind of prefer white. So I don't think Matthias is completely out of the woods in a very innocent-looking position, I must say. And finally, we come to that stage in the show where we get to abuse Ben Underwood, our statistician, and tell us where...
Let's take a look at his pie charts.
Okay, yesterday was such a huge day. A lot of changes.
This is pre-tournament. Fabiano Caruana was the favorite with 28.2%. Hikaru Nakamura in second with 16.2%. And not far from Hikaru is Sindarov, the youngest player, with 14.7%. Then Anish, Wei Yi, Pragg, and so on. But after yesterday, I'm sure things have
A lot of
changed
changes.
a bit.
Pragg jumped up. You went from 10%.
I was expecting Fabi would be around 40%, and I was right. 40.7% for Fabi, that's huge. Now, Sindarov also increased his chances after his win, almost 20%. Pragg at 14.7%. Hikaru still, after a loss, he's not completely out of the competition, of course.
Two blacks in a row issued there.
That plays a big role, yes.
Right.
Does that also mean he'll have two whites at the end?
Yes.
Of course.
So, of course, in the double round robin, they're simply switching the colors. So, coming for the second half, Hikaru will be playing Fabi with white, and then against his opponent today, also with white. Maurice, what's caught your eye?
Well, a fascinating moment for me in the game between Wei Yi and Praggnanandhaa. And I really want you guys to chime in as well, because there's an understanding that we have as players as we improve, that you say certain things are what you're supposed to do and certain things are what you're not supposed to do. And then the engine goes, you're all stupid. Actually, this is perfectly fine. And this is actually what you should be doing. So let me show you what I'm talking about in this position right here. It is currently Black's turn to move. Black, you look at the position, the most important part of any chess position is what's happening in the center. We want to know this little dynamic interchange here. You've got this pawn here, and you've got an extra center pawn for Black. So Black has a mass, while White is trying to show that this f4 pawn has some use as it restrains the e5 square. And sooner or later, maybe one day, you might get pressure against this pawn, looking not so easy in this position. But what you want is, normally speaking, to maintain the tension in the center. Don't make any concrete decisions in the center. So play around it. And this is what Pragg, who is 2750, this is what he did in this position. However, right here, right now, the engine says, no, that's not the move you should be playing. You should play the move c4. Forget about the tension in the center. Play c4 and play for your majority, which it doesn't look like an evident majority, but spatial advantage anyway, on this side of the board. Play for b5 and a5, etc. So that is the correct plan. And by the way, Black would be better here, according to the engine, and White's best move is g4, and you ignore it. I'm just going to show you some example moves that the engine is saying is best play, where Black is the one who's better, having allowed this to happen. All right, already I'm confused. I was like, okay, that's debatable. Instead of doing that, like I said, Pragg played the move Rook AF7. And now the engine says, well, what you should do as White is take on c5. Again, to my eyes, no, I'm not playing a move like this one, but it has a very concrete idea. It wants to play the move f5 now, having blown open the center. You cannot play d4, and putting some enormous pressure on this pawn on d5. As you can see, it's a lot happening on that square. And I will note, by the way, that according to the engine, the best way to play is knight back and allow this sacrifice. Knight takes, e takes, bishop takes, and play this position, two pawns, and then get the rook on d5. An explosive variation, to be sure. So going back now to this position, Wei Yi, like any human grandmaster, like I'm not giving him the center, he didn't spot this idea, and he now played the move f5. And of course, now that we know what the engine's been telling us, we know immediately we should play c4, shut down the center, and not let anything crazy happen. Both players have missed these nuances. These are supremely difficult decisions and counterintuitive for grandmasters. I mean, from my eyes, it was completely counterintuitive. At least the players are respecting my understanding of chess. And I can say, okay, so I messed up like a human and even like a superhuman in these players. What do you guys think? Those natural to you? And as a French player, Yasser, I know these are the kind of structures you probably have seen in your career.
Oh, definitely. I'm with you 100%. We're conventionally taught that tension, you don't release it with d4 takes c5 because we're helping
like
our
a terrible move. You've been fighting for the center and just give it up in one move.
Precisely. But then when you see the follow-up of f5 and your rooks are nicely positioned, then you're tempted. Conversely, I find myself, it was crazy, I find myself in many of my French defenses drawn to the idea of c4. Like if you look at
that's definitely more natural.
Yeah, that's a lot more natural, and you're going for a kind of a space.
But that g4 that Maurice showed us, that does look a bit scary for black.
Exactly, you're going to get a situation where, if we do get this is like weird, but if we do get the knight coming here.
Apparently, a bishop takes e4 was winning there, but.
Oh, bishop takes e4? Again,
d5.
Rook on a7.
Rook is hanging here.
Ding, ding, ding. We get a double attack. Yes. Oops. Who put the rook on a7? On a7. But the current position is still filled with great tension. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, you can't do this. This we've already
now
kind of
clear
shut this.
that d takes c looks good.
Shut this down. But
is c4 the most natural looking move after f5? I wouldn't say so.
It is not the most natural, but on the other hand, you don't want to be sitting there worried about knight takes d5 pawn. So shutting it down and getting a situation like this, I think Prague will be accepting this as a decent outcome for black.
Yep, if he plays c4, there's also an knight e4 option, I believe. So he's taking a long think here. Maybe he was surprised by f5.
Right. Well, isn't this our line? Knight takes, pawn takes, pawn takes, bishop takes on e6, and I was playing bishop d2, and bishop e2, pardon me, and
it's balanced.
Very, very, very balanced. I mean, I'm trying to weigh the passer. How significant is it? Because I've got a pretty decent blockade. It's not like I'm worried about you going boom, 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 and knocking things over. So okay, I think this is pretty balanced. Maurice, back to you. Nice insights. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed what you were showing.
Appreciate it, Yaz. I just want to clear up my own confusion in these positions.
Right.
And it continues in the position they're playing right now, because you see, Prague is not playing instantly. He's not just whipping out this c4 idea. And again, so if we go back one move, to this case, the move f5 has been played. c4, releasing the tension from the position. I remember my former coach, Greg Kaidanov, saying, preaching, maintain the tension, maintain the tension. That is just a mantra for strong players, just to suddenly give up the center in this way. Yes, it may be natural for you to look for some space, but White wants to not have to calculate those things anymore and only focus on your own weaknesses. So in this position, it's interesting. The line you just showed with takes and takes is considered bad for White by the engine. Again, according to the mantra, Gregory's mantra, maintain the tension. Don't make trades if you don't have to. Make sure they work in your favor. By taking here, my instinct, my bullet instinct, was to play the move bishop to g5. I'm hitting the bishop. I'm hitting the knight. Both of them are protecting the d5 pawn I really want with my knight and bishop attacking it. Then the engine says, oops, sorry, buddy. Knight e4, and the pin of the rooks on the f-file is what saves the day. There's no time to play bishop takes and push your pawn because of this mate coming at you. Knight e4, a monstrous shot in the position, causing too many problems for White, and White is the one who's actually helped Black in this setup. So what should White do here? Maintain the tension. Play bishop to g5 in this moment and get the same pressure without having to trade on the e6 square just yet. That's not going anywhere. And now black has to be accurate and find the move bishop to b4. This is high-level 2750, 2800 and above chess. Nuances from deep understanding of not just the position, but positional principles themselves, plus calculation necessary to make sure everything you're doing is correct. This is what we expect from the candidates trying to become the challenger to the world title.
Thank you, Maurice.
Absolutely.
And if I may draw your attention to Fabiano's game, because
Yes.
I think they are racing towards a draw. Anish, Giri, and Fabian have found a way to trade a lot of pieces, and they're in this rook endgame, bishop versus knight, but there's more moves, and
I think this is actually a critical moment because if if it was Fabi's turn and he could play the moves king e7 and rook d8 together, trading off the rooks, he would be the one playing in the minor piece ending. And for that reason, this was actually a key move for Anish to play the move rook to d6.
keep the rook active on c6.
Precisely.
But here I like the Fabi's next move. Instead of keeping his rook passive on b8, he uses the tempo because of the first rank issues to play rook d8. Let's show why white can take on b6.
In fact, I was just looking at that myself.
I mean,
as
white
we-
can take, but
Yeah.
still it's to quality.
And then the idea was I was going to play check. Yeah? Now, I
E8.
think you really should play king e8
Otherwise
because,
you're down a pawn.
yeah, if you go king to d6, well, I'll just
yeah.
like
Sweep the whole
sweep,
king side.
sweep the king side off the board. And if you played king f6, well, then I got a ha.
It might still, we can take on f1 and go rook b1. We actually
make
do
a-
get the pawn back. Yeah.
Exactly, making a draw that way. So,
That's one line, and if white doesn't take on b6, let's say they go f4 just to open a window for the king. Now Fabi can play rook d6, and they can have a three-move repetition after rook c7 or rook c8,
exactly.
back and forth.
Exactly, something of this nature. And Maurice, over to you.
Well, that was racing towards a draw, and we actually have a result for the day so far, and it is in the women's section. A draw has transpired between Anna Muzyczuk and Tan Zhongyi. You see this position here, not much happened out of the opening, and so two quick draws so far. Well, this draw and a draw from yesterday for these players, and you see they're just repeating to this point, saying no reason to play anymore and take any chances. So we have a result in the books. Let's stay with the ladies for a moment as we see another game that is looking pretty drawish. Down a pawn is black here, Goryachkina. With this position, it is actually her turn to move. You can see she has great compensation in her rooks on the open file. She doesn't want to quite trade just yet. Bishop c4 would be a very nice move in this position. Looking to go into a rook ending. This e-pawn, though passed, is not going anywhere anytime soon. It just is under control. The black king at any moment could gallop two squares and take it off the board. So this one we are anticipating will also be a draw. But the two other games full of content. First, let's go to the two brilliant Indian players and Divya Deshmukh with the white pieces against Vaishali Rameshbabu. And you see here a very solid position right out of the opening. While other games are drawing and ending, this looks like it's exactly in the opening still. And Vaishali, again, playing around with the clock situation at 18 minutes and 48 seconds. I mean, it's only move 19. She's got to make 20 more moves. She does get a 30-second increment. Nevertheless, it's 20 more moves out of this extremely rich position. You're playing with fire, getting in time pressure like this. Her opponent with 32 minutes, not exactly an hour, but still a nice little advantage. And she can make a few more moves and get her opponent in critical time pressure. That's when the mistakes happen. And by the way, yesterday, Vaishali dodged the bullet in her game. Could have easily lost that one. And then finally, the other game, the other pairing is between big dogs, Katerina Lagno and Zhu Jinner of China, the number 2 rated player on the planet. She with the black pieces right now. And as you can tell, white sacrificed the pawn in the opening for some compensation she hopes. The engine doesn't buy it. Says, well, you're not getting anything out of this position that's special. The black king is behind a fortress, a citadel of pawns and is ready actually to castle kingside at any moment, get out of the middle. And white's going to have to prove something. Where is her breakthrough? She might be down a pawn for the long haul in this position. Will Zhuzhena be the first woman in this competition to score a win? Well, we've got this exciting one and others, of course, to watch as the games go on.
Thank you, Maurice. I think we have a result.
I do too. Oops, no, I'm sorry. I was going through my analysis.
My board, the move hasn't been made yet. We're talking about Anish, Giri, and Fabiano's game. We expect it to be a draw, but I don't have any updates. Yes.
No updates yet. But yeah, we do expect that repetition to occur.
While we wait, let's jump to Hikaru's game and see how he's doing in that game. I think Esipenko offered to trade queens, as you suggested, Yasser.
Right.
And Hikaru rejected, went back to b6.
I think he made the right decision as well. Just to, again, the split pawns, pawns on a7 as well as c6, become weaker as pieces come off the board. It's strange how there are certain structures that are amplified when pieces are on the board and when pieces are off the board. Split pawns are a weakness. So queen b6, knight to d2. Let's get the rest of the troops giving them marching orders.
Since you and I are both Catalan players, this idea of b3 knight c4 comes to mind, just to set up that outpost for the knight on c4. If black takes, great, then we have good bishop versus bad knight. Yeah, and the c5 pawn is just going to be the target for the rest of the game.
So for you, b3 is kind of an automatic move in the sense that what you're saying is you plant a knight on c4, goodness knows, you might start looking at ideas of rook d6 and e5. You're almost forcing the trade of the knight, the bishop for the knight. You recapture and you...
Long-term advantage,
Long-term
right?
advantage.
I mean, it's a small advantage, but it's very long-term.
It's funny because we're kind of talking about this bishop on g2 being on Anish's bishop being on an empty diagonal, right? Imagine we were to play the move rook to d8,
c4.
Knight c4, bishop takes c4,
Queen takes.
Queen takes c4. I played the move e5.
Oh, I was not expecting my bishop to get locked up.
Exactly. A moment ago on the Anish game, you have the bishop kind of like on this empty. But here you, like...
that definitely changes things, yeah.
It does, right? It's strange how one little rook move, pawn move, pardon me, a difference. Now this one I don't like. It's funny because now in this one, we do have the open c file, right?
Yes, we can't checkmate, unfortunately, because of queen d8.
Right, but you know what I'm saying? This could be...
I don't feel like I have a better minor piece at all. That e5 rook d4 is a good idea for black.
Yeah. So still, I think the game is dynamically balanced, despite what we might call weak pawns, but we'll see. We'll see.
Maurice, over to you.
Maurice, sorry.
Well, guys, this position is a huge one for this event. Praggnanandhaa, having won his first game with really good style against Giri yesterday. But this position, he is stuck. And again, I'm a little relieved for myself that my understanding of chess and maintaining the center tension is something you want to do, and it's counterintuitive to do something else, but it goes beyond that, far more than just understanding. Now we're talking about precision tactics, and look at the beautiful tactics that are possible right here. C4, according to the engine, really the only move to maintain full equality for black. And now white plays the move bishop to g5, maintaining the tension in the center for the moment. And now, with the pressure on e6, you play this move, looks very nice. Pins the knight and defends your pawn on e6, allowing your queen to defend. But now comes the move rook to e5. And that move says, hey, not only am I planting my rook on a great square, I'm also adding more pressure to your d5 pawn. Watch out for that. I might take at any point and then win that pawn on that square. The engine now says the only way to maintain equality is to play the move knight to e4. That's an explosive move. There are 3 pieces attacking that square, although one of them is currently pinned, the knight on c3. And now let's take a look. Bishop takes on e4, pawn takes, and what do you do now? Black looks to be in great shape. The rooks have been unleashed on the file. The pawn on f5 is hanging. What is white going to do here? And the engine says, no problem, we're going to play the move f6. That's 3 things guarding that square. You only got 2 protecting, and now you have to be immensely accurate. Well, you do have options, but the one move that you might think about taking actually fails to the beautiful bishop to h6. And now you're hitting a rook, and if you dare take this rook, well, suddenly you run into this move with check, and look at the variation as they go out. Queen takes with check, forcing this move, and now you have to find the move rook to f4 as white. What a move, threatening rook to g4. This rook is frozen because of mate on this square. Suddenly black is completely busted. A full rook sack. Now, is he looking at all of this? He needs to see it if he's going to go into this line. Whether or not it's possible, he might notice the line, suspect that there are tricks against his position. Although right here after the move f6, he can chill and play bishop to b7. A person just put a pawn on f6, and you've got to relax and say, no problem, I got this under control. What a wild line, people. If you have to look at this kind of stuff to just play a chess game, that is extraordinary as a variation. There were other variations as well in this exact line. Bishop takes push, takes, bishop moves, and if I think here you don't take. You could take on c3, sorry, and chase the queen away and then capture here. But now you run into another beautiful line, check, and look at that check. You don't see that kind of move every day. If you take it, of course, you're done with mate coming, either queen or rook. And if you don't take it and just move your king, well, it doesn't matter because bishop takes and you're getting mated anyway. Some spectacular lines. By the way, not too far down. We're going about 8 moves. These players see 6 to 8, 10 moves of tactics very easily, but still you got to calculate it all, put it all together, and that is truly sparkling lines that are possible in this position that we have in front of us.
Thank you, Maurice. It really reminds me of fantasy chess. Like what I try to do and what I do throughout my whole career is when it's my turn, I'm really analyzing concrete variations. Talk, 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 talk. I do this, you do that. But when it's my opponent's turn, then I think to myself, well, in a wonderful world, in a marvelous world, what is something I'd really like to achieve? What could, and I'm looking at fantasy variations, and what Maurice was just showing was pretty fantastical stuff. It was really great. But I did want to point out the clock times. Wei Yi, by the way, he was down a half an hour.
He was down almost a full hour.
Yeah, and Prague is slowly catching up. Just going to go.
He must be calculating all these crazy lines that Maurice just showed us.
Exactly.
There's so many options in this position.
That went with c4. And I must say that these moves, the starting moves, at least, very natural.
Close, yes.
You know, it's got a lot of flow to them. Easy moves. E5, pardon me, bishop B, rook E5. I start to see these moves, you know, and I start to get a little bit concerned that, well, wait a minute.
F6,
that starts to get serious.
By the way, I do see Prague finally made a move, and it's c4. So we might
see a variation like this again. C4, very forcing sequence, because now we're threatening to take. We discovered that captures bishop takes e6 is actually useful for.
Yeah, great. Yeah, so let's jump back to Fabiano's game. We do have moves coming in, and they are repeating. We're about to see the end of this game. F4 was played by Anish, rook d6, and now they are repeating with the rooks.
Because, again, any trade of rooks, I'm favoring Fabi, and you know, for Fabi, it's a marathon. We all understand that. but it's a dream start. You defeat in the first round the pre-tournament favorite, at least by paper on the rating. Second round, you're black against a player you actually don't have a great score against, Anish, Giri.
And
You
drew
equalize
quite
and
easily.
you draw a comfortable game. You go, my goodness, the first 2 rounds. Fabi's saying, I've got an angel sitting on my shoulder here. This is a really good.
It's definitely a good start, but it's a very long tournament, 14 rounds.
Exactly. And we do have repetitions.
And just to look ahead, Fabiano will be playing Wei Yi tomorrow with the white pieces.
Sneak peek.
I wonder if they have a lot of classical games between them.
I suspect that they've squared off a number of times.
It can't be as many games as against Anish or Hikaru. But
of course, no, because of the whole Grand Chess Tour and how often Anish and Fabi have been in those tours. And, well, they play in all of those tournaments like the Tata Steels of the world, too.
And candidates, too, because they're both veterans in the candidates.
Yeah. 6. This is the 6th appearance for Fabi and for Anish.
3rd, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay. Not bad. Definitely a good result for Fabiano with the black pieces. Also, Anish is in recovery mode, started with a loss yesterday. So draw against Fabi and he can start a new tournament tomorrow, right?
Hope so, because for him, he also needs to right the ship. Maurice, over to you.
A big development over in the women's section. Number 1 seed Zhu Zhenner suddenly now cruising and has a spectacular sacrifice that could net her a huge advantage in her game against Katerina Lagno. In this position, it seems sensible to just drop your queen back somewhere, maybe on G7 or hide over here somewhere. But she intentionally offered the trade of queens in this position, and her opponent, being down a pawn, said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to play F3, get your queen out of there. The queen now dropped back to the G7 square, and her opponent decided, let's make a natural developing move. What's the problem? What could be the problem? We're putting your piece on this square. And suddenly, instead of developing anything, black said, oh, no. You have a problem. Knight to D4 played on the board. And now it is white's turn, and suddenly white has realized that there's a tactical issue here. If you move your queen over to F2, well, your queen is going to have to move. Then the move knight takes on F3 with check suddenly becomes playable. And this move is nasty. You have to take with the queen, and now queen check. Now you say, okay, I'm going to let you have that so I can have this pawn. At least I kept my pawn. But hold on a second, because there's a move like bishop to C6 you suddenly have to worry about, and this G2 pawn with this opened G file, the monster bishop on the long diagonal, suddenly you're just completely busted. You're gone. So this would be crushing. I don't see how she can deal with it. Queen F2 would be natural. And what else is more natural? There may be even a move like bishop to C5, by the way, that can be played. The move bishop to E3, trying to deal with that issue, just runs into F4. And sorry, bye-bye, good night. So what are you supposed to do after knight to D4? She played a natural developing move, bishop F4, after sacking a pawn, and her opponent is saying, excuse me, I'm going to punish you now. It looks as though black is going to run away with this game.
Lovely variations. Thank you, Maurice. And as you were showing those variations, I believe it's an official result now.
Yes, have a first result in the open section today. Anish, Giri and Fabiano Caruana ended in a draw.
As we saw that repetition, and a big shout out to Varujan for pointing out that it's really, really hard to qualify for the candidates. Just stop with that thought for a moment, how nice it is to get to the candidate.
It's only the 8 players, right?
Since 2016, Fabi has always qualified for the candidates. That's really quite an impressive record,
and
a great achievement.
We should point out, he won in 2018.
Yes.
And finished second at least twice that I remember.
Exactly.
Maybe
Toronto most recently was the painful one, and I remember,
And he's currently the sole leader of the candidates, as other players are still playing, and who can catch him? Let's check.
Let's check.
Should we jump to Andrey Esipenko's game?
I think it was a candidates in Moscow where he was so close. He was in second, and it was like his game with Peter Svidler. He was winning, and then there was some other. He ended up second. And it was like, painful.
Being like half point away from being a challenger.
Yeah,
Which game do you want to look at?
I wanted to look at.
That's not, by the way, that's not as painful as what happened to him last time. Sorry.
Toronto.
Toronto was much more painful. Toronto, when he's +5 against Nepo, and if he wins the game, he's playing a tiebreak, and he should win the game, and he's playing a tiebreak against Gukesh. That was really painful.
Yeah.
And he probably has tried to wash the memory out of that from his mind. But how do you do it? How do you do it? Like you're +5, just a few moves away from taking care of business and maybe playing for the title. And then you got to watch the other guy go and get the wreath around his neck and stand there, I'm the youngest challenger ever, and go to win the title.
Right.
That was painful.
I think we're still recovering from that too, right?
Yeah, Rex too. We dragged Rex kicking and screaming to Toronto, and he was rooting Fabiano, and just like got pipped at the very end. Just looking at the game of Sindarov, and I must say, like, again, at first blush, White has the 2 bishops, but it's really, really nothing. I mean, it's a draw.
Very
and
small
then
advantage.
you kind of go deeper.
Okay.
You go, okay, well, I've got these 2 bishops. Okay, if it's my turn, I'm going to go like bishop to d3, bishop to e2. We're going to only trade 1 pair of rooks. And then I'm going to put my bishops back on d2, back on d3. So I'm going to have my bishops on d2 and d3. I'm going to put my rook on h2, and then I'm going to play the move g4.
And what's your plan? Let's say I take it.
King takes.
Why is your rook on h2? What's
Just for the pause, just for the moment. And I'm going to play rook h7, of course.
Sure. And if I defend the f7 pawn and then move the knight,
Well,
then you have f5s, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And there'll be
Then it's definitely something to worry about for black.
Well, the engines would defend them very, very well. But for
So
human
humans play.
players...
And there's always time trouble that doesn't help. I don't think
by the
Matthias
way.
has to end up in time trouble. He has 26 minutes for the next 12 moves.
Right.
But if he takes too long here...
Yeah. I can see the bar on the border, kind of a chess thermometer, keeping an eye. The engine thinks that White's just on the ever so slightly better. And I think that in general, that is true. However, as a human player, you go, well, which side would I prefer?
Oh, White for sure.
Right. And it's sort of like, okay, there's some venom in the position, and the clock may become a far more important factor going forward. We'll keep an eye on this. Where would you like to take us?
Let's check in with Hikaru and Andrey Esipenko. I guessed Andrey's move. He's played b3.
Yeah.
This is the current position, and Hikaru's lower on time, not by much. It's 34 versus 38. I'm just not used to seeing Hikaru being lower on the clock.
Right.
But yeah, he still has some problems to solve here. He has to find that e5 idea in order to truly equalize.
Exactly.
If black allows White that knight c4, good development, and then e5, that would be just playing for 2 results.
Exactly. There are times that you really want to be very, very accurate. This is one of those moments as black. Again, it's so early and it is a marathon, but the idea obviously is both Andrey and Hikaru lost the first game. They both are seeking for victory, but they can't lose.
They can't afford to lose another one.
They're out of the tournament before it even, the starting pistol really went off, right? You lose your first 2 games in the candidates, the rest of the tournament suffering. So nobody wants to take huge risks in this one. We do have the move rook d8, and this is the knight c4 variation that we were looking at.
So if knight c4 happens here, can Hikaru still follow it up with e5? Takes and e5?
Exactly. Let's have a look-see. And I think the answer to the question is yes.
And on rook c1, you still go rook d4.
Yeah.
I don't see a big difference between The
which
A rook
rook?
developed instead of an F.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So again, what we've been looking at is that, okay, after rook c1, we've got this nice intermezzo rook to d4. Queen takes c5 is a massive, massive accident. Loses a rook. So we handed up, well, I guess we could move our queen.
But I don't like looking at black's rook on d4.
I know,
would
that
take
rook on, okay, I agree. Rook takes, pawn takes. So we now have a protected passed pawn in the center. And this
I'm
bishop.
just so sad about that bishop. It had such potential.
A moment ago it did, right? And now it's kind of locked behind. Interesting game going on here. What's caught your eye, Maurice?
Well, you talk about an interesting game. It's that game between Lagno and Zhu Jinner in the women's section. And what we were talking about did happen. In fact, queen to f2 after knight to d4. And knight takes f3. And black is now up 2 pawns. And you would say, well, she must be just easily winning. We know you're not taking on b7 because bishop c6 is devastating. And Katerina Lagno, she said, I'm no fool. I'm not letting that happen to me. And so in this position, she played the move queen to g3, now saying, all right, you cannot castle kingside. That's not going to happen. I may play queen g7 at some point, but more importantly, the question is, can you castle queenside? And here, this move, as we can all suspect, is a dangerous looking one because white can get a rook on the c line. But if white plays it too soon with rook a to c1, bishop c6 happens, and you got problems. One of the rooks is coming to the g line soon, and you have no natural discoveries that do anything whatsoever to black. So you need to be careful here as white, and this is possible to miss. Zhu Jinner might walk into this line, although her spidey sense will probably tell her not to do it. But this move, b3, is a huge move in the setting, trying to chase the queen away from the action. So, for example, if you play this move, queen a6, saying, I'm playing bishop c6 on the next move, you'll be shocked by the move knight to d5. And suddenly the action on this line, plus the rook coming to the c line, and you realize that white has great compensation, not to mention that would be mate if I could just jump over that bishop. So this becomes problematic. The d5 square has to be controlled. But if you try to stay on that square, then b4, and the tactics continue. Black now has given white more than enough compensation by castling too early. So that means you got to stay in the center for at least one more move and play the move bishop to c6 and wait around. But suddenly rook a d1, and no, you're not leaving the middle of the board. This is a position that white will hope, even though the engine's saying you have no hope, precise play should put you down. But white will hope this gives some compensation. The lines are not very obvious. I'm just going to show you one quick line. Rook a d8 trying to trade, and then, this move takes first, and then this move, the engine gives as best, although rook f8 is possible, to go for this crazy endgame where black has 2 bishops and 2 pawns, but is in fact much better in this position. Complex stuff to evaluate. A great game, sharp play, and 2 of the favorites in the event going at it. Zhu Jinner wins with black. Watch out. She's the top seed in the tournament. That may be all she needs to really get that confidence and momentum to take her all the way to the title.
Absolutely, Maurice, especially winning with the black pieces against Katerina Lagno would be a huge victory.
Yeah, but I also have to say, Kate, whoops, she kind of blundered, but now with the move queen g3, she's in there fighting as well. So getting ready for a break.
Yes, we're going to take a short break and take a look at some past footage of Hikaru Nakamura winning some championships. So enjoy, and we'll be back shortly.
May 2009. In the central west end of St. Louis, something new is beginning. Inside the St. Louis Chess Club, the U.S. Chess Championship finds a new home, one that will soon reshape American chess. But in this moment, nothing is guaranteed, not the future of the city, and not the future of one of its most talented players. At 21 years old, Hikaru Nakamura arrives with something to prove. He has already been a prodigy, already been a champion, but that version of him belongs to the past. This tournament is about something else, because quietly behind the scenes, he is questioning everything.
I didn't really view chess as being something that I could pursue professionally in terms of making a living. Around this time, actually, I had considered leaving the US. I actually had started the process to try and immigrate to Canada, and it had nothing to do with chess or anything else. I was just looking for something different. I didn't really view chess as being something that I could pursue professionally in terms of making a living.
At that moment, chess is not a certainty. It is an option, and this tournament will decide whether he stays or goes.
We're all of us, Gata, me, Yuri, and Alex, we're all around the same strength. So once again, I just figure take it one game at a time.
From the outside, Nakamura looks composed, but inside, something has changed. For the first time, he is building a structure around himself.
It was very important because it was the first time that I competed in a tournament where I had a second or a trainer who came with me to the event. That would, of course, be Chris Littlejohn, who I've been working with for a very long time. And we actually stayed together at, I think it was the Hilton down by the stadium in downtown St. Louis. He lugged his desktop computer all the way from Dallas. He drove about 11 hours to get here.
It sounds almost trivial now, but in 2009, it marks a shift from raw talent to professional preparation.
The fact that we would drive down to the club from downtown here to the Central West End, blasting some music that lasted a while, to specifically would be the song. Yeah, it was great.
There is rhythm now, consistency, a foundation. On the board, the results follow. Wins come early. Draws come when needed. Mistakes are limited. He does not dominate every game, but he controls the tournament.
I think I've won and lost a few too many games recently because I've tried to win every game.
Around him, the field tightens. Gatakamsky brings experience. Robert Hess brings momentum.
There was this player, Robert Hess, who was competing alongside me to try and win the tournament. And most players, I think, these days, or most people in chess would think of Robert more as a commentator, but he was also a very strong player, and that was his one great run to try and win the U.S. Championship. So there are a lot of special moments, and I look back on it very fondly.
The tournament becomes less about brilliance and more about endurance. And that is where Nakamura begins to separate himself. Not with perfection, but with presence.
He's a killer, There are not that many people like that who just, when you sit at the board across from them, you just feel he just wants to destroy you, like that.
So obviously, there's a lot of pressure, but the competition, being in the situation in the last round where I have a chance at winning, there's no greater feeling for me than that.
The tournament builds quietly towards its final moment, not with chaos, but with pressure. Nakamura and Hess are tied. Everything comes down to one game. Before the final round, Nakamura is clear about one thing.
I want to win the tournament straight up. Anytime you tie, it's okay, but really, I want to win this tournament.
His opponent, Joshua Friedel. Across the room, Hess plays for Rujan Akobian. 2 boards, 1 outcome. What happens next is not dramatic. It is decisive. From the opening, Nakamura takes control. No hesitation, no fear, just clarity.
There weren't really many complications for me. It just seemed like a pretty straightforward win.
22 moves later, it's over. A complete victory. But for a few moments, the result still hangs in the air. Because across the room, another game continues. Hess pushes. Akobian resists. And then, a draw. It is finished. Hikaru Nakamura is the 2009 U.S. Chess Champion. undefeated, 7 out of 9. But the result is only part of the story, because years later, Nakamura would look back at this tournament differently, not as a victory, but as a turning point.
I think beyond the result, it sort of laid the groundwork for me becoming a professional player, having the opportunity to break in the top 20, top 10 in the world, and establish myself as a top player. I really would say, in some sense, I never looked back.
And maybe, more importantly, it changed his decision.
I think that winning that event, it proved that I was here to stay. Just looking back, it was just all around very important. And I think without the US Championship, probably I would not be where I am today.
At the time, those words sound like confidence. In hindsight, they sound like something else. They sound like a realization. Because in St. Louis, two things are happening at once. A city is becoming the center of American chess, with the vision of Rex and Jeannie Sinkfield. And a player is deciding to stay in the game and chase the highest level.
It was the beginning of what has happened since then. It's been 15 plus years now of so many great tournaments, so many memories. At this point in my career, I look back as it being a pivotal turning point.
The moves, the games, the standings, they all matter. But they are not the reason this tournament is remembered. It is remembered because of what almost didn't happen. A player on the verge of walking away, finding a reason not to. In May 2009, Hikaru Nakamura did not just win the US Championship, he chose his future. And in doing so, he helped shape the future of American chess.
Welcome back, everyone. We're in the middle of round 2 of the candidates. Let's take a look at the results so far. We'll start with the open section. So far, we have only one draw. That was between Anish, Giri and Fabiano Caruana. Fabi had one moment that looked pretty scary for him, but after that he equalized without any issues.
He's going into the clubhouse in clear first. And for the ladies, any results so far?
I believe we have one draw there as well. It was two already.
Excuse me.
While we're on a break, Bibisara and Garyachkina also drew their game, and the first quick game was between Anna Muzichuk and Tan Zhongyi.
Everyone's tied for first.
He's still tied for first. But we talked to Fabiano Caruana yesterday after his win, so let's take a look at the interview.
Fabi, you just made a draw with Anish Giri, the player you know so well. You played more than 40 classical games. Did you have any special approach to the opponent you know so good?
Well, I tried to come up with something a bit rare and unusual to hopefully surprise him, or at least, I mean, I know he's very well prepared, and he definitely would have some idea that the variation exists. I even played in a Blitz game against Dubov. I played this line in the World Championship in Blitz. But I hoped he wouldn't be so familiar with it. But he knew it quite intimately. He didn't have like a very, very deep try, so I think he had checked it maybe a little bit of time ago, maybe not today. Or maybe he had checked it a bit but thought it was unlikely and decided to go for kind of a safe approach. But he definitely had a try which was safe and a little bit unpleasant. And I didn't like my position so much. I knew it was equal, but I didn't like that I was kind of on the back foot. But I think I kind of accurately neutralized things with, I think knight f5 was a nice move to force matters, to try to clarify the tension. I mean, he has the two bishops, but he has a few weak pawns, so that was the idea of knight f5.
Yeah. Do you feel that today, second round, you feel less tension compared to the first one?
Well, the game was less tense, so for that reason I do. I mean, the game never really went out of the balance, I think, more or less. And yesterday, of course, there was many emotional swings and, thinking it's going to start as a draw and it's equal, and then suddenly having very serious win chances, thinking the game's almost over, I'm about to win, and then, luckily I didn't have too much time to dwell over the fact that I had spoiled it. It was only about 30 seconds, but yeah, definitely it was a much more emotional game yesterday.
And my apologies, that was the fresh new interview with Fabi after today's round. I think we were just still thinking about his yesterday's game, right?
Yeah, the roller coaster that he was referencing as well.
Yeah.
And jumping into following up on the interview that Fabi just had, let me point out what Fabi was talking about. There was two moments in particular he mentioned in this interview. And he was saying that, okay, he's playing against Anish Giri, and I have it on my board here, that Anish is going to play his Catalan, and what Fabi did is really offbeat. First of all, he plays the move knight d7, which is absolutely not common whatsoever. Now he takes, so he's playing an open Catalan. There's no queen a4 check, and again, black in these open Catalan is aspiring for c5. But very, very importantly right now, he follows up with the move rook b8, which is a very unusual approach. And what black is saying is, like, if you're not careful, I'm going to play the move b5.
And keep that pawn alive.
And I'm going to keep that pawn. And a2, a4, I will meet with a6 because there's no pin along the a file. So Fabi's saying, hey, you know, I was going to surprise my opponent. Very well prepared. Guess what? Anish knew the variation incredibly well.
Very familiar with this and almost got a big advantage as well.
Exactly. And then Fabi said, you know, he didn't like it. He felt he was on the back foot. Then he patted himself on the shoulder and he said, well, he came up with a very good idea, knight f5, to neutralize the game, which is precisely what happened. But I think he did underestimate White's advantage after the move d5. I'm sure that Fabi had it in mind that he was going to be able to set up a nice blockade and
The knights, yeah.
But no. That wouldn't have been the case after rook e1, rook e8. The computer shows it is actually White who has a significant advantage. So the bullet, if you will, was dodged, and easy game at the office for Fabi. Where would you like to guide us?
Let's jump back to Javokhir and Matthias, because I believe Matthias has equalized completely now.
He found a brilliant idea that I must say, so far, Sindarov has played exactly the way I would have expected him to play. It all looks really, really nice. Please capture on g4.
Give me the h-file.
Open the h-file, or please allow me to capture on h5. You'll recapture with a knight. I will play the move f5, and great pressure for White. And Matthias found a brilliant.
Probably absolutely necessary as well.
Wow. I mean, that really was a kind of a stunning move.
Yes.
Yeah.
And after f5, I don't see how Javokhir could try to open up the position at all. Let's say we have a couple more moves since then. Takes.
It was en passant or nothing, but the problem with en passant
is a risk too, right?
The problem is, you know, the highly desirable situation like this, you could end up, I don't know, is this possible? Although I must say, I got
H1,
just a second. So why didn't he go for this? Bishop to d2.
Well, black is not worse though here. The f4 pawn is a weakness for White, right?
Well, I'm threatening. Threatening is a strong word, but am I g5 a little? He did not play this. What happened was he captured, and this was a huge relief for Matthias, because now this bishop diagonal kind of got shut down. It did get shut down.
Now it's like a close position, and two bishops are not as strong anymore versus bishop and the knight.
No.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Sorry, I wanted to just say, what was wrong with knight e6 instead of your g5?
Sorry, so f5 take. What was wrong with knight e6 instead of f5?
The line you played, no.
F5, G takes F.
F5, en passant.
En passant.
Oh, pardon me. Sorry, Maurice. I'm on the long. And bishop to d2.
And your sack.
Now knight e6.
No, your sack. Play your sack first, or knight e6, but play your sack so that f5 doesn't happen. And I was just curious why knight e6 wasn't working. Like, you were asked why this wasn't possible.
No, knight e6 works brilliantly well.
Yeah.
That's it.
Thank you.
That, as I like to say, that clears the cobwebs. Yeah, I can take, and that looks absolutely, absolutely dead even. And the current position, just to jump to the current position, it's a little awkward that he's had to play the move rook h8, isn't it?
But what's the issue?
I don't know. It's strange to kind of walk into.
Well, there was bishop f5 threat. That's why. If you go rook e8 or something, there's bishop
Right.
f5.
Like, exactly. There you go. So if rook e8, yeah, also rook h5, but yes,
Oh,
bishop
yeah.
f5 is a big. So we currently have rook on h8, and I guess.
Maybe he wants to play knight f6
Ah,
and take the h file away from white's rook.
yeah. Now I would say
We're
Matthias
probably-
has done a great job
Absolutely,
at
yes.
neutralizing
We might
completely.
see some repetition with rook e1, rook e7, or something like that. Right? Because
Rookie.
Could we go back? Could we go back a second to that same crazy line? Because I was just curious about one. Oh, I see what it is now. Okay, the same en passant line.
Yep.
The same en passant.
En
Takes,
passant.
takes. I had this crazy idea, but I realized it doesn't work. The same sack, bishop d2, go down the same thing with the knight e6 position. There's this move I saw, bishop f5. I just wanted to point it out. It was completely ridiculous.
Ooh,
But
very.
the point being, if you take with the pawn,
Whoop.
then you can play, then you can continue in this way. And now you're suddenly doing the do. So you have to take on g4 first with check, and now everything is resolved.
And now we're just, yeah. Whoop.
Yeah, so
Okay, sorry, I just.
No.
You know,
I
these,
mean,
these problem chess moves, these studies and weird interference ideas, but they have to be
wait,
calculated.
bishop
Whoa,
f5
whoa.
just happened?
Whoa, okay. And
Oh,
some,
G6?
talk about bishop sacrifices on f5.
was
It happened in this game.
wow.
I guess it just trades bishop for the knight. Yeah.
Well, just. Why does it just? How do I trade the bishop?
Rook
for the-
g7 was played, because otherwise if you go rook h8, I play g7.
And rook
Or I
takes.
would take on
and
h4.
now, yes, I was about to say, rook takes g6 is nicely, delightfully met.
Can we
With
play
rook
rook
takes-
h7 here? Oh, there's king f6. Because otherwise,
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
so black is right on time. If my bishop was e1, I might have something, but no, nothing here.
Whew. But that's
Very concrete
almost.
line.
It's almost a puzzle rush moment, right? Where you look. Can I play bishop f5? Well, yeah. Unfortunately, it does just trade things off. But I want to say, Fabi, this is a delightful result because
Yes, Javokhir could have surpassed him if he won with white.
precisely.
With the draw, Javokhir will be sharing first with Fabiano.
Exactly.
Yeah, we do expect this game to end in a draw, so let's jump back to Hikaru's game. I think he's still in trouble. Hasn't completely equalized today. He
Yet.
didn't play that rook d4 move we're looking at.
He did? Or
did not.
he played e5?
Yes, but then he took on d1. I think you need to switch to
Really?
white. Yeah, now I
took
think
on-
he's going to have some
Whoa.
long suffering in this endgame.
Big surprise. He took on d1, a5, rook c8. Long suffering.
3 pawns, a5, c5, e5. If white had a knight on c4.
Yeah. Okay, but there is an issue, right? The rook on c8 and the queen on c7. So I want to
Sounds
play
sustainable.
bishop h3,
h4, right?
and I want to keep my pawn on e4 protected.
Queen
So-
e3, h4.
So let's just start with queen c2. So I'm over. I'm
White's plans are pretty straightforward.
yeah, in anticipation of playing for bishop h3, I'm defending e4 for the moment, and I'm giving myself the potential option of tickling the rook on a6 as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely more fun to play for white.
Right.
Black has to be careful. So do I set up queen c6, rook c7?
Queen c6, rook c7, yes. And are you satisfied with your knight?
No,
on
I want it on
f6?
d4, but I don't know how to get it there.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Yeah. That would take
Yeah.
a long time to get to d4, but
some suffering here. Ben Underwood has prepared for us a very interesting chart about the performances of the players coming into the event and what we would call their TPR, Tournament Performance Ratings.
And this is from January 1st of last year, so we have a lot of data here. As you can see, Sindarov has been playing the best classical chess. Wow, 2781 rating performance. Fabio, of course, up there as well with 2778. I think the reason why Hikaru's is so low, it's because he played those Mickey Mouse tournaments, right? And
that's what he called them.
his opponents were 2300 and lower, and that's why it's so low.
He gave up a draw here or there, but what Hikaru was doing was he was trying to get his activity requirement. The FIDE says, we're going to invite the highest rated player that isn't otherwise qualified. Sounds good. But we want them to play 20, 30 games, whatever it is. The FIDE wants you to have an active performance. Well, Hikaru had played in the Norway chess and more or less nothing else. So he needed to increase his activity. He played in a number of open events around the United States, and he wasn't playing against very high-rated players. The result, not a very impressive TPR. So he really stands out. What also stands out there in that chart was Sindarov for the last 18 months was, as you just saw, one of the hottest players in the world.
That's Magnus level.
Yeah, you surpass, you're doing something right if you surpass Fabiano in your tournament's performance. Prague also came into today's competition tied for first. A victory for Prague against Wei Yi.
Clear.
And he's in clear first place. Let's pick up the action between these two. When we left the position, the players have been playing down that path that Maurice had pointed out, and that included a nice posting up of the rook on e5. So the idea is still this tension exists. Bishop takes f6 and bishop takes d5 is the big idea. But I think for both players, I think maybe Wei Yi was a little bit unsure about the sharp results.
Maybe too big of a complication for their tournament situation?
That could have occurred here. Yeah, like this was a very risky double-edged line for both players. So Wei Yi decided not to play the move rook e5. He's played instead queen e2. I didn't like that move, but let's see the resulting position.
A lot of pieces got traded. We have opposite colored bishops now. Yes, the queen and the rooks are still on the board. White can take control of the f file. Black will control the e file. Should be very, very equal, right?
Yeah. Oh, but I have, as a French defense player, you say you put your bishop on e4, I got something to say.
Yeah.
But if you put your bishop on e5, I'm going to be crying as well. So, I mean, it's...
But I think neither of us gets to do that.
Well, I have certain echoes of yesterday's huge game between Fabi and Hikaru, right? Where, bishops of opposite color, and whoever was on the initiative in that game, it was Fabi who was on the initiative. If I could put my bishop on e5, isn't this like just wonderful? I'll trap your rook, ha ha ha, in the center of the board.
Okay, so you're doing, I was calculating only queen f2.
Right.
Let's go bishop g4.
Bishop g4, bishop e5, so...
Okay, I need some prophylaxis move like h6. I don't want your queen on g5.
Yeah, or h6 looks good. Now, why did you put your bishop here? You're giving me a back rank tempo.
I just want to tickle e2. Bishop h5.
Make my day.
Not yet, not yet. After the queen is on g6. By the way, Wei Yi has played bishop f4, so they're following this line. And let's put the queen on g6.
Okay. Now I have some regrets that I can't play queen f8 and rook f7.
Well, actually, Engine didn't love that queen g6 move.
It was a very, how do you say,
is it
human
g4?
move?
Am I losing a bishop?
Human move?
Oh. How did I get my bishop trapped?
Human bishop.
What?
Look, Mom, no hands. Okay, so we managed to lose easily.
it's so easy to lose.
It's so easy to lose.
Any position.
Any position. Okay, rook takes e4, bishop f4. We understand what we're trying to achieve. We want to put... Now, you could just seize the defensive, by the way.
Yes,
you know,
but I didn't want to play passively.
Yeah. That always gets you into trouble. I think it's fairly balanced. And Maurice, what has caught your eye in this round two?
Well, I am very much entranced by a game that maybe the only decisive game we see today, maybe not, but it's the one that's looking like somebody's going to win, and it looks like Black and Zhuzhiner, as Katerina Lagno is struggling down 2 pawns, but she was really playing tenacious chess a moment ago. Let's take a look at the position. After this move, bishop to c6, rook a d1, and now Black cannot get out of the center of the board despite being up 2 pawns. Then bishop to f6, saying, I'm not going to let your queen come down to the g7 square. And now h3, very precise move, ancient's top move, as a matter of fact, saying to Black, what do you have? You're not going to get your pawn all the way down to this square and really open up that diagonal. So Zhuzhina said, okay, no problem. I'll just push it 1 anyway, looking to maybe get to h4. No big deal. And the best and maybe only try at this moment was actually the move bishop to e5, looking to get rid of the dark square bishop. That's not a surprise, because if you look, you see all of Black's pawns are on light squares. So you get rid of the dark square bishop, that should improve your prospects, especially since takes, and rook g8, it turns out, is not a problem because of moves, crazy moves like knight to d5, for example, or even ignoring the threat rook d4. What a wild line to let this happen to you. And now with the queen hanging, if you play queen back to c6, for example, rook d6 is a line chasing the queen, and you can't just move because suddenly you're the one who's getting mated. All right, well, back up. h5 on the board. Positionally, it's the right thing to trade off, but tactically, maybe you're afraid of h4. However, she did not play bishop e5. She was more afraid of h4 than she was of anything else, and she herself lifted her pawn and put it on h4. And that's a disaster. That now has weakened critical squares, particularly the g4 square. This one could become a problem later. And this position, we're waiting for Black's next move, which she has found the #1 move in the position. Let's trade off pieces now that you're not doing anything. And White is down to 1 minute and 36 seconds to play 15 moves. Down 2 pawns. She has quickly played bishop to g5, hoping against hope that this will save her, but it will not. She's in big trouble. Black could trade rooks. Black could trade bishops. This position is a disaster for White. She has 0 counterplay and is only trying to survive. But the engine is giving -4.5 to Black at the moment. White down 2 pawns with no play. That's not a surprise, but it is a complete disaster. The only thing that's potentially keeping her in the game, look at the clock times. Zhuzhiner also has to make 15 moves, has spent a lot of time trying to understand the position. So maybe she will make some errors at the moment, as they both now are in that 2-minute range. Zhuzhiner going down under 2 minutes, as a matter of fact. This one, they get 30-second increments, thankfully, but nevertheless, they're playing with fire as far as the time is concerned.
Thank you, Maurice. And we do have a result in the open section. It was a draw as expected between Javokhir Sindarov and Matthias Blübaum.
Seriously, a big hat tip there to Matthias. I mean, it was a very subtle position where if you just made some offhand casual moves, you're going to find yourself in real trouble as a Black. But Matthias really played very well.
Yeah, he found all the perfect moves to defend this endgame. And because, you know, Javokhir was on fire. He started with a win today. He had an advantage. If he got a chance, he would have had 2-0. But no, Matthias defended very well, and Fabi thanks him.
Yes, well done. And let's go to our other tournament leader, Prague. Came into this round tied for first.
Opposite bishop endgame.
But we're seeing a dead draw.
He has an extra pawn,
How did he? I thought after bishop f4, just give white one or two moves. You know, bishop.
White can lose the bishop, right?
Right. He did go back with his rook, and this is how he sealed the deal.
Yeah,
and
traded
yes,
everything. Won
it's
the pawn on
true.
c2, but that doesn't make any difference here. White will set up pawn on a3.
Yep.
And there's no breakthroughs here.
No.
King side is completely equal.
Yep.
Yeah. Over to you, Maurice.
Back to that exciting game. That game between Langdo and Zhu Zhenner. Let's put that on the board. Let's actually on the screen. Let's make that the only thing on the screen, if you don't mind, director, because she's down to 45 seconds to make 14 moves. 14 moves. This is the position. Just stare at it for a second, because the main threat for white now is actually mate in one. I mean, just mate. That's the threat. Black has to be careful. A trade does not really help much after rook takes your position. You're still better after king f8, but this is not a fun position to have to play, especially when you see a position like this, you're suddenly going backwards. Let's go live. She's at 11 seconds. Make that 8 seconds. And she's finally moved a rook off the c line. Rook to c8, realizing the problem, and that's a blunder. That is an absolute blunder. The brilliant and extraordinary knight to b5 right here, right now. If she can find it with only 2 minutes and 10 seconds on her clock, will save her completely. What an extraordinary move. The point is, you take with the queen, and suddenly there's a rook sack out of nowhere. Takes, and you cannot get out of the checks. The rook guards the d line, and the queen will take care of the rest. And if bishop takes on b5, suddenly rook c1 shows up, and you've got to give back material. We're on the watch now, as I said, with time ticking down, blunders can occur, and that is the moment. We are in the moment. Can she find this move, knight to b5? That's a special line.
Maurice, I have a question. Why not knight d5? Doesn't that look better? Because I'm forcing you to take, and then I go rook c1.
Knight d5 is met by bishop takes, and then there's going to be, knight d5, yes, is met by bishop takes, rook c1. That's a position to play. Queen b4 takes, and king to d7.
Wow.
And this
Rook
position is
E1,
also is still advantageous for black, as your rook is hanging and it's still the 2 pawns. But that's a line too. What has she played?
She missed
She
it.
completely missed it in time pressure. Again, you might be a superstar, but time pressure makes fools of us all. And now she will go down. If queen g4 lands on the board, she'll never find a move against this one. This will be a massive issue as the queen solidifies itself, and then the rook can go to the g line. She has only 7 seconds, though. What is she going to do? She's counting down. She's got a better move.
Queen g4.
And she played queen b4 instead. This is a heart attack game, and that's a complete mistake, as rook e6 now again makes a draw.
On the
rook
spot.
e6, right on the spot, take the piece, and then play check, and their opponent cannot escape the checks of the queen.
Perpetual.
Let's see if she can find the move now that saves the game for her. Knight b5, by the way, still does the same thing, but there's no reason. She has rook e6, and she will have dodged the biggest bullet ever. She has 1 minute left to find this move that saves her life.
Right.
One of those 2 moves. In fact, the position has gone off the rail. She could even play queen f6 and stay in the game.
Wow.
But rook e6 draws instantly.
Yeah, knight b5 is
And she's
a
played it.
spectacular move, but you're not looking for it.
Yes.
Rook e6, you're
That's
looking
easy to
for.
see, yes.
You're looking for rook e6. She's found it. She's won back one of the pawns that she was down, and I agree. I think that this is going to be a perpetual check that
She
we're
was
seeing.
1 move away. If she played queen g4, it's game over. Black wins.
But queen g4 was punishing h4, h2.
Now she has to accept the perpetual. There's
And
nothing else
she's
to do.
about to do,
else to do.
and that's what we're about
That's
to see.
it.
King f8, queen f6 check.
And Katerina survives for the 2nd day in a row. Yesterday, Goryachkina had a piss tactic in
rook
1
takes
move.
e5.
Yes. Wow.
Spectacular. So talk about living life on the edge, right?
Queen
F6
is going to
check.
feel completely distraught after walking out of this. 2 pawns up, allowing her opponent to make a draw here. And a simple queen g4, by the way, would have solved all her problems, and she missed it. And now a draw to this game. I'm sure the other ladies are happy, and no one happier, of course, than Katerina Lagno to have survived this position. Just incredible.
Wow. Yeah.
Time trouble.
Yeah, queen b4. Yeah, she wanted to play queen e7, but queen g4 really suggested itself because you're setting up a checkmate on g2. So queen g4 forces queens in a big miss for Zhu. I'm just looking at Wei Yi in Prague.
Wait a second.
In their bishops of opposite color, they're heading for a draw.
Yeah, this position, it's kind of funny that she's sitting on it now because she knows she can draw, right? Like,
right.
Jack, you draw. But you could tell that she's looking for a win,
right?
Actually. Let me get to that board here. She's saying, I got the draw, but I'm not, no. Can I maybe get a little bit more? And now she's repeating moves with check, and now she's finally decided, well, she's actually repeated once and given herself a little bit of extra time. But I'm sure she's staring at, is there a queen e6? Is there a rook to maybe to d3? You know what? Let me not be foolish. Let me just take my draw and get out of here.
Not with queen takes h4 check hanging on the position.
Yeah.
Like queen takes e6 check, king g7, and you're saying, rook d6 is not working. There's queen h4. So I suspect a draw. What? I don't have rook e2. No, that is analysis,
What a save
right?
by Katerina.
What a save. But by the way, no, seriously, knight b5 would have been spectacular.
Yeah.
If she had found it, because you're not looking for it.
How do you find that with 2 minutes when you don't know it exists?
Well, you're just not looking for it because the bishop on c6 dominates the knight, so you've already put that aside.
And the whole idea that you have rook c1 and rook is hanging on c8 just does not enter your mind.
Exactly.
We expect a repetition any second now as she's under 58 seconds. She knows she has the draw, but this is where you keep looking. You want to send a message to your opponent. Yeah, you hunted me down all this time. When I get a chance, watch. I'm always going to be hunting you as well. And let Zhu Jin also feel distraught for a little bit longer. A little psychological gamesmanship at the moment, but she knows she has the draw in her pocket and will not rush it. It's not necessary. 27 seconds now, counting down. We should see queen g6 check any moment.
Absolutely.
And still everyone will be tied for first or last.
There it is, queen g6, only one move here. I wonder how long she takes before she plays king f8.
The only move, only legal move on the board. Well, she might be taking a snack or something, you know?
Right, that's the thing.
Or may have walked away from the board and,
exactly.
Can't believe what she did.
It always made me shake my head in disbelief when somebody went queen takes d8 check. There's only one legal move. You got to recapture the queen with your king. And then they think and think and think, and it's like, dude, take the queen and then think. So
I've got
yes,
once
F8.
we see this draw happen and king f8 has been played, they're probably making claims now, queen f6, and we should see the draw quite shortly. 10 seconds. She probably has already made the claim.
Yeah.
Right.
Although we'd expect the clock to actually stop if that were the case.
Yeah.
But it's clear as we see this tick down that she must have made the claim and it will be a draw. I'd like to show something really special, though, that might have been what threw her off in this moment. Take a look. We were saying queen g4, and that's all she wrote, so to speak. No pun intended. But queen f6 is actually an interesting move. The rook on d2 is guarding g2, and the pawn is guarded by the queen on f6. And in this exact position, there is a rook e6 sighting that may still happen, something you have to be concerned about. But we're not sure it quite works. But guess what? The best move is here. Castles.
Whoa.
That's still legal?
That's legal. That's legal. Like, what? Quite legal. Now the queen will come back, defend everything, maybe on g7. And that's it. A beautiful move and a surprising one given the position. But castles is simply the best move. You have to be a little bit careful. Rook h6 is a little tactical trickery, wanting to see this line and then give me that one with check. No fun. But after rook h6, there is rook e6 first before taking. And, okay, black is still better, but the key move here that shuts it all down would be the brilliant castles. Very smooth, cool move. And that would actually end the game. Rook e3, not getting any rook g3s happening anytime soon. Queen g7 is playable. In fact, is that trapping the queen in some way? Well, I guess queen e7. And then there is this very beautiful move you cannot take because of mate. Black would completely take over the game. Queen g4 and castles would have been the game. Start, stop. She missed. I'm not sure. She must have thought queen f6 was the next move. What else can you play? You have to play queen f6. And maybe she just didn't have a solution here and completely overlooked that she could easily castle, and that would have been that. But now it's official. Draw and result. And one player will be distraught. That is black for not winning this game. And another will be elated, running out of here, feeling like you won the game and not just drew.
Exactly. Sometimes those are victories. Castles. I think you and I had the same reaction. Is that legal? Was that still legal? Because it felt like, you know, the black king side had been blown up, so you couldn't castle.
E8 the whole game, so you forget it can still castle.
So Ben Larson was telling me this brilliant story. He's on the black side of a Sicilian. I think it was Bruno Parma, but I'm not 100% sure. And Parma had made the sacrifice so that Bent had to play the move king on e8 to d7, and then Bent had to bring his king back. So he's lost the power of castling. The game went on and on and on, and then he suddenly realized that Bruno was making these moves to prevent him from castling, something that he couldn't do. And in that particular moment, castles might have been a real shocking move, because I'm sure queen g4, queen f6, if you don't realize you can castle, your rook is hanging, rook e6 is still a potent...
Yeah, it looks scary. And if she did castle, I think Katarina would look in the notation. Wait a minute.
Can you do that? By the way, we have another result.
I think we, already Wei Yi repetition between Wei Yi and Prague. As we expected, it was opposite color bishop endgame for a while now. And
still, there's some irony here that the three tournament leaders coming into today's round have all drawn. The only remaining game is between two players who lost
yesterday,
who are trying to recover their form.
Players, and let's check with them. How is Hikaru doing? He's down to 6 minutes with 13 moves to go. That's a bit worrisome.
Yeah.
That's very worrisome.
By the way, so what we did see after this move, queen c7, was the immediate h4. I think I was suggesting queen c2 with the idea of h4. Andrey said, look, I'm going to play h4 anyway, and I'm menacing a potential or future bishop h3. I think you were dealing with this yourself with like queen d6. Queen, hold on.
There's knight e4 in between move maybe, so.
There's h, okay, just a second. Rook c2. I'm going to try to catch up with the player.
But I think white is improving the position while black's just waiting, right?
Well, the last move, queen d8, invites rook takes c5, but we've got a check downstairs
knight g4, right?
And knight g4. Ooh, okay. Shall we have a look? Let's just take a look. Rook takes, queen takes, check. And unfortunately for white, bishop g2.
Bishop f1 looks okay.
Bishop g2 to f1, yeah.
Because if you take on e4, I'll take on e5.
And
but then...
Okay, so give me a follow. Is it knight g4?
I'm not sure. Engine seems to say white doesn't really have any advantage here. And I'm sure this is what Andrey is calculating, because he can force all these moves, the sequence of moves.
It's all very forcing indeed. Maurice, jump in.
Well, one game we have not taken too much of a look at, but some incredible things transpired there, is a game between the two Indian stars in the women's section. Divya Deshmukh with the white pieces found a fantastic move against Vaishali. After this mistake, knight to e4, looking to try to trade off this knight and get at the a-pawn, but Divya said, wait a minute, I can just take on b7, obviously threatening mate in 2 with queen takes. And after rook takes, what was your plan here? And Vaishali said, this was my plan to play this move. And now, both of them, by the way, in time pressure, Divya down to 20 seconds in the game, although they've made time control, so that should not be a problem anymore. But after knight to g5, she could now offer an exchange of queens in this position. I'm not sure if she was afraid, what she was afraid of, in fact. This move just looks like you're winning material. You're keeping your material. Instead, she played a tricky move, queen to g3, allowing rook takes on c5. And her point was, hello, take a look at me. I check you. Your king has to move over. And now I am about to mate you or win your queen. This game looks done. Except she was stunned by this check, followed by the spectacular queen sacrifice, saving the day. Hello, and check. No more problems here for black. The game now has reached move 41, and she must be just staring at this. What just happened? I had the win in my clutches, and a spectacular queen sack saves the day. And now, actually, black, after, let's say, king g2 takes, well, both sides have their passed pawns. This one should peter out into a draw. What a save by Vaishali. Incredible chess we're seeing in both sections. But that one was indeed amazing and memorable. I'm sure Vaishali will have that one later in one of her memoirs. Whatever she does in life, she say, boy, especially if she wins this tournament, she'll say, this one also feels like a win. You got to sack my queen and save the day.
Yeah, you're just on the edge, and you have this miracle Hail Mary, queen takes h3, knight f3.
Do we see that? Have you ever done something like that in a classical important game?
Yeah, I have to say I've gotten in my fair shots of great
Good for you, I'm jealous.
Let's take a look at some of the results.
Absolutely.
Shall we start with
In the open section, we only have one game left. So far, 3 results. Anish and Fabiano drew first. Then we had Wei Yi and Praggnanandhaa also make a draw. And Javokhir Sindarov against Matthias. Matthias really defended very well today.
Absolutely, with one game remaining. It looks like Andrey is a choice, but...
And the women also, so far, all 3 draws. This is very surprising. 2 days in a row, ladies making all draws. But as we saw, there were missed opportunities both days. And yeah, wow, Divya is probably sitting in shock with the queen on h3.
And I think for Kate and Zhu, they're looking at that game and going, oh my gosh, some missed opportunity. What was that? I'm still keeping my eye on the game between Andrey and Hikaru Nakamura. Hikaru is down to 4 minutes. And again, just the peculiarities.
4 moves to go.
Exactly. Just the peculiarities of this time control. You're not getting, the players are really used. For the better part of 20, maybe even 30 years, they've been getting those 30-second increments in classical chess. In this particular event, they're starting with 2 hours. That's it. And only on move 41 are they getting their 30 seconds. So you're seeing the players, I think Andrey is down to 13 minutes at the moment. And
position has gotten easier to play maybe for Hikaru. He found this setup that works, so he's not taking too much time, because otherwise 4 minutes for 12 moves is definitely not enough.
But the position definitely hinges on his tactics actually working in his favor, because the pawn on h6 is hanging. So you got, queen takes
you
h6.
would grab it so fast.
Yeah, you have to prove.
Actually, why don't we take?
That's a good question. So then you have to prove your dynamic. You're going to play c5, c4, and you've got knight g4 ideas, and you've got background issues. But
yes, I guess Andrey will play bishop f1 and put the bishop finally on c4 on a better diagonal now.
Bishop f1 is definitely the positional approach.
Stopping Hikaru's counterplay.
Exactly, and But because I'm a greedy guy,
C4,
let me take this one.
I'll take with the rook.
And let me put my
Oh,
bishop
sorry,
on
Queen
F3.
B1 looks better.
Yeah, I was about to.
With Queen B1.
I wasn't even sure. Okay, let me start with bishop F3. Let me
both
just
changing. Ooh, you're letting me go
challenging.
C3. I'm
Yeah.
happy with that.
Okay,
Are you not worried about my pawn?
I am.
Queen D4?
Queen D4.
All of this, Yasser, for that pawn on H6.
I will walk
Queen
through the Gobi
D3.
Desert with bare feet.
I believe you.
For a
There's
lousy
Queen D3
pawn.
here, unfortunately. That
Queen D3.
should be winning. Unless you have some
Oh.
perpetuals over there, but no, you don't. Knight on
perpetual,
F6
no.
is well placed.
You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you know what I'm up to, at least. So, okay, C4 was the last turn, right?
Yeah, if you take, I'll give you a check first on B1. You can't go King H2. You have to cover.
Whoop. That's the old royal fork. Okay.
And after bishop F1, I'm taking on E4.
Yeah, that was the one I wanted you to take on. Yeah. And there we go.
Actually, look at that. Engine keeps saying white is better here.
And which number of move are we on, by the way?
They're on move 28, so still 12 moves to go for the time control.
12 moves to go. You know, if I'm white and queen takes h6, I'm looking at bishop f1 and bishop c4. Maurice, a critical moment here for Andrey. Do you go?
I just want to chime in as we look at the position.
Yeah.
That point of c4 is so telling. If the king were on g7, if the black king were on g7 right now, right, instead of allowing this counterplay, white probably would instantly play bishop f1. Just instantly.
Right.
Right? It's only because that pawn is there going, please take me, come on, hello, that you're looking at it and checking those variations. But you see Andrey very wisely now, as we look at the live board, did play the move bishop to f1. It's just, we're so greedy
Yes.
that the positional approach of putting your bishop on a great square like this one and just consolidating the position, we got to look at it. We can't help ourselves. And now he played it, and Hikaru very quickly played king g7, realizing that he doesn't have a lot of time left to play this game, and so he's got to be practical with his clock. No increment will happen for the next 12 moves.
Right. I, again, feel like Hikaru is going to be relying upon attacking, dynamic attacking possibilities. I really, really want to challenge the rook, put the knight on g4, and get counterplay against f2, right? So
Give up the c5 pawn for it?
yes, that was that's where I was heading.
Especially before the time control, when you don't have enough time to think about it, you can't make that decision.
Yeah, this is tough. But okay, imagining king g7, imagining bishop c4, I guess rook d8 is.
Can he try a4 and get rid of one pair of pawns, or will you just take it?
Well, you do have queen b4, right? You're hitting a lot of things. So a4.
Maybe queen d3.
Queen d3, knight e4.
Just take on a4.
But
this is a good trade for black, right?
Yeah, the bishop on b3 is being undermined. I guess I should just let you
A4 was played.
achieve. Oh, or
for
rook
white,
c6.
it was played.
Or
Andrey didn't allow a4.
A4 was played by white. Okay, that was an intriguing decision. King g7, a4. Okay, and Hikaru says, I do want to challenge the d file. I don't want to lose the pawn on c5. Let me play rook c6 with the idea of rook d6, and on a good day,
Can we still go rook d6, give up the c5 now? Well, it's not even hanging because of e4, right? Well, it has to be calculated.
Rook d6. No, b3 is hanging.
e3 is hanging, e5. There's so many pawns hanging.
What the heck is going on? No, I'm losing track. So if I go queen takes c5,
You have to take on b3.
I take on.
Take on c2, take on e5.
Of course,
take on
e4 is hanging.
I'll take on a5.
Right, but didn't I at the end of
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hikaru played c4.
What? With no time, well, in time trouble, he played c4?
What did he calculate? So he's offering a queen trade.
Ah, e4 is hanging.
Sure, but you're giving me a pass pawn. Take, and I'll take on c4 with the pawn.
Okay, let's have a look-see. Takes.
Because if you take on e4, I think c5 works. Oh, you have f5. Rook c6, bishop g2 was my idea, but I guess you simply play f5.
I'm in a rook ending. Still, no, this is even.
Yeah, this is
I
it.
don't.
He calculated all the way here. It's 3.5 minutes for next 9 moves for Hikaru.
Wow, I must say that Hikaru's seriously a generational talent where blitz chess is concerned, and he calculates almost instantaneously. But that is a boss move. C5, C4. That says, hey, I'm confident in my calculation. Let's go.
I'm sure that came as a surprise.
A total shock. I mean, come on. The last move that Andrey just played was rook c2.
This 3 pieces looking at the c4 square.
Exactly.
How are you still pushing c4?
I've got c4 protected. Don't you understand?
Tremendous move. Also pointing out that he could have tried to just hold the position, stay stable, rook d6, for example. But Hikaru, when given the opportunity, he likes to resolve the situation.
Yes.
Clarify things quickly. No stability and sit around waiting. If I see a move that can get the job done, let me hurry up and do it. And it looks as though he did find that necessary f5 move, and his opponent has been rocked back and has been spending 2 minutes now trying to figure out exactly what to do. It looks like his only real choice here is to trade queens, although there is the fascinating queen. No, that's not really possible. Queen to c3, if you can put that on your board. Queen c3, is that playable?
So the idea being if I take the pawn, you take the rook.
We do have a queen trade in the game.
Yeah, queen c3, that would be
very unnatural move.
A shock reaction. Takes on the board. I think your first knee-jerk instinct was
take with the pawn, but because of that f5 move now, it's not that promising. Looks pretty even.
So again, you better play c5 and not let me play
then
knight
I'm in
c5.
trouble.
Yeah, then the tables could be turned. But we got to this position, and I wasn't absolutely okay.
You don't have rook c5 yet, so I don't have to rush bishop b4.
Okay, king f1.
Include some...
King f1.
Sure, king f1. And g4 also? Could be a good inclusion.
g4. Sorry, g4's...
It's quite interesting. Andrey's also going down on the clock, less than 5 minutes now.
So what is the idea of g4 after, say, king f6?
Oh, it looked good. h5, and I want to weaken your f5 pawn and take on f5.
Okay, so take
now
on f5.
you just take with the king. You're fine here? The knight on e4 is not lost? How is that possible?
Well, I saw rook c4, knight d2, and I thought I was fine, but...
That's like you're barely surviving. On rook e2, knight c3.
Yeah,
hanging by a thread here, rook e3. Oh, and then you take on c5. Wow.
Wow.
I mean, with 3 minutes, though...
I know, that's a crazy thing, with no time on the clock.
You're so nervous making these moves.
There's another crazy line. Bishop takes on c4.
Instead of the pawn takes, okay.
Yeah, bishop c4, knight e4,
yeah,
and rook e2.
Rook e2,
also
f5.
f5, right?
And now, and he's going for it. Actually, this is what's happening. F5, and now the move f3.
So you're...
And rook e5, and your knight is not coming out, and your a-pawn is hanging straight. So this is very dangerous, and it's on the board. Hikaru now has to be very accurate and find knight c5. That's the circumspect line, knight c5.
f5 first, and then after f3, knight c5.
Wow. Okay, but I sign me up for white's position because I like the rook and bishop versus rook and knight. I like what we would call the Bobby Fischer ending only because of his match game with Mark Taimanov.
And now white could take on b3, but of course he's hanging f3. So, and f5 has been played. We're going to go down this line, in fact. And now if king f2 for white, white is saying, look, the a-pawn looks scrumptious. I may or may not take it at any moment. This endgame will be advantageous. There's only two results. You talked about yesterday, Yas. Only I could win. I can't lose. So Hikaru is, and we're seeing the line play it out exactly. Hikaru must now play knight to c5. I'm sure, well, I said I was sure about king c7 yesterday, so let me not jinx that. He has actually played
knight d6
to d6, a similar line looking for a rook and pawn ending that is more or less equal, that he is confident he can make a draw in, and he should get his draw, in fact.
Yeah, this is a theoretical draw, especially because pawn is already on f3, and black's setup is pretty decent on the king side.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, because the pawn is on f3, kind of put it back on f2, and you're feeling a little bit more nervous, but yeah. And it's an A pawn. It's not a B pawn or a C pawn. The king is further away. White's king is further away from queening the pawn, winning the rook.
Also about to reach the time control. Only 2 moves left. Hikaru actually masterfully avoided being in time trouble in a complicated position. He forced all the trades, found the only moves to keep close to equality, and now in the rook endgame down a pawn, he will of course make a draw.
Well, plaudits for knight d6 too, because we were on the knight c5, and that was a pathway that, I'm with you, Maurice, that was just a 2-result game. Here, I think chances of a draw are so much greater than the chances of a win for white. That
and the ladies also, by the way, are in a rook and pawn ending that is very drawn. So we would expect all the games today to be drawn. Given the fireworks of yesterday, we were pretty spoiled.
Yeah, we sure were. I think VAR told us that you have to go back to 1988 or something like that, where a candidate started with 3 victories in the first round. It was
Actually, it was 2018.
Was it that long?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was longer. Oh, good morning.
But it's, it's still very, very rare.
Very rare to have 3 wins in a row. 3 wins out of 4 games.
In round 1, in the open section.
But note that the status quo was maintained. And so nothing shifted in either section. So it's as though you go to sleep, you spend the whole day, a whole night thinking about it, your morning thinking about it. What's going to happen today? And what happens? Nothing changed.
Nothing.
And we're back. But 1 round has passed. 1 more round is in the books. It's so difficult to make headway in these tournaments because everybody's so strong. And every game is an opportunity. Those who had white today, I'm sure they're looking back. And those who missed those chances, the wins that they could have had, it may have seemed like it was a status quo, but you feel it psychologically, and it's a little bit of percentage weighed on your psyche about what today meant, whether positive or negative.
But I just have to add, though, and this is very important, you say that nothing's changed. Well, if I was black,
you feel much better.
I feel a lot better about the results of the game.
Not if you're Zhu Jinner.
Not, yeah, well, there you go. There you go. By the way, we just had A5, and it's one of those things, obviously you want your rook behind A4. But also
to play rook c2, right?
Yeah, but also from another perspective, if you're white, your only chances of winning is put the pawn to A6, put your rook on A8, and run like crazy with your king. So one of the things you might say to yourself as black is, I don't want to get behind the A pawn so fast. I would like to force a draw immediately. I would like to give you rook here. Go ahead and play A6. I'll take the pawn, and after taking the pawn, then I'll go back.
Well, you would also take g3 with a check if you let me.
Exactly. So you defend it.
Oh, this could be a quick draw right here.
Right, and check.
And if I try king e2, king d3, will you go for the g pawn?
Yes, precisely.
You have time for that. A6?
Again, I think your rook needs to be on A8.
Yeah.
So that your king can nicely discover.
Yeah, this still works. You have rook g1, rook a1.
Yes.
You're in time. And this is the last move for Hikaru to make, which he did. He played, rook c2. Wait,
rook c2
is
or
not
rook c3?
That great.
I thought on the
Played
live.
rook c. Oh, okay.
He did play rook c3.
Rook c3, which is
yeah,
much
this
better.
was the move that caught my eye, and I was saying, oh,
Yeah. forces a
because
draw.
your pawn's still only on
Mm-hmm.
a5, and because your rook is actually not on a great square a7, now I'll go after and harass the pawns. Now, the worst thing, of course, is the thing I absolutely don't want to do as white, is go with my king to h3 and get in a situation where the king is absolutely, like, no way coming back into the game. Now it's just like a dead even result draw. So I think this was a very clever move by Hikaru rook c3, or rather very
And
exacting.
on his last move too, right? Before time control with 30 seconds or something, he made the most precise move to
Yeah,
force a draw.
exactly.
But we'll keep an eye on this. They just got extra 30 minutes, so they'll probably
They made the
take their
time control.
So we're going to catch a short break.
All right.
Don't go anywhere. We have some footage of Fabi. Enjoy. We'll be back shortly.
Yeah, and my last question, Yasser thinks that we are suffering, of course, here in this beautiful hotel. Like, how do you feel being here in Cyprus, and are you enjoying the weather or sea, sun, and all these facilities which we have here?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying the place. Before the tournament started, I had a few days to swim a bit, to use the gym and to walk outside and stuff. But now that the games have started, I've only been taking walks and haven't had time to do much else, especially after yesterday, which was such a long game, and then the preparation also does take quite a bit of time. But it is a really nice place. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, Yasser will be really jealous now, hearing it also from you. And my last question, you are playing against Wei Yi tomorrow. You have quite a good score against him, so what is your thoughts before this round?
Well, he's definitely one of the most solid players in the tournament. I mean, plays very, very accurate, consistent chess. I do have a good score against him, but okay, it doesn't really mean anything for the game tomorrow. But I'm playing with white, so hoping that I can put some pressure.
Yeah, all the best of luck with Fabi. See you tomorrow. Thank you.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to break 2 of day 2 of this candidates tournament. My name is Ben Underwood, statistician at the St. Louis Chess Club. We're going to be diving deep a little bit into these players. What we're going to do, we're going to talk about past candidates tournaments. We're going to talk about the future of what may happen. And we're going to be talking brilliance, blunders, and everything in between. Stay tuned right here. You're not going to want to miss it. So let's dive into these pre-tournament projections and see just how the players are faring with what was expected. Now, I did make this model on the projections, and I used 4 factors that go in here. One is going to be ELO. So ELO goes into the model, and we're also going to look at URS as well. All of these different rating structures get factored in to look at a little bit of the quick, look at a little bit of the different time controls into each of the model. We're going to look at performance rating of each of the players. Performance rating, RPR right here, and then we're also going to look at their head-to-head ratings. Now, all of these get baked in to make these projections right here. Erase all of this. I want to highlight a player right here in Hikaru Nakamura. Rating favorite at 2810. Now, why is he 16% versus Caruana's 28? Now, I don't think it's any question to know how he made this candidates tournament and the Mickey Mouse tournaments that he played to get here. Let's look at the performance ratings since 2025. Here we have player performance ratings since January 1st, 2025. Sindarov, Caruana right here in the 2780 range. Everybody else matching around to what their current ELO is, and here we have Nakamura, 2622. Now, what's up with that? His average player rating of the last 22 players that he faced is 2093, 700 points lower rated than him. So, had he won all of those games, he'd be right up here with Sindarov and Caruana, but he did not. He's down at 26-22. We had results yesterday. Let's look at what happened there. Sindarov, 1 point. Praggnanandhaa, 1 point. Caruana, 1 point. They all won with the white pieces. So how does that affect the projections going into today? Right here, Caruana at 40%, Sindarov 19%, Pragg at 15%. Now, this is after round 1, and it is my model, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I have to like it. And I'm looking at these numbers, and I'm looking at Praggnanandhaa and wondering, why is he so low? 2025, he had the best resume in all of chess. I would put him above Carlsen. I'd put him above Nakamura. He won Tata Steel. He won the Superbet Romania. Yet at only 15%, in September 2025, he was the number 4 rated player in the world and then lost 40 rating points. I think he's very dangerous in this tournament, and I think this 15% does not necessarily do him justice. Now, before we get into some round 1 statistics that happened yesterday, I have a puzzle for you all. This is from the 2018 Candidates Tournament. We have Mamedyarov versus Ding Liren. Black to move. You can pause and take some time to look at this puzzle for a little bit, but we are going to come back right before the end of the break and solve it together. So take 3 seconds, and I'm going to move on and get into some of these round 1 statistics. Now, what else happened in 2018? It was the only other year in the recent candidates tournaments where we had 3 decisive games in the first round. And who won that year? Our own Fabiano Caruana. You can see right here the rating progression, not rating progression, but score progression as we went through rounds in the tournament. Only in round 3 did Kramnik get ahead by a half point, and then Fabi beat him in round 4 to reclaim that league. Mamedyarov and Karyakin tried to get close in round 6 and in round 12, but after each of those times, Fabi came back with a win to reclaim that lead and then win the entire tournament by a single point. Now, let's look a little bit at the blunders. Now, nobody wants to make a blunder, but they're going to happen in this tournament, especially with the time control where we don't have increment until move 40. Right now, we're sitting at 7 total blunders in the entire tournament, and we're keeping track of the most significant ones. Now, nobody wants to have that title. However, we are going to keep track right now. Esipenko, move 32 with a 43.5% change in expected score drop. Nakamura gets that second place with 39.25%. Let's look a little bit into what happened during those games. Now, Esipenko with B takes C4. What is supposed to happen? Sindarov finds it almost immediately. Let's get the arrow out. Oh. With bishop to A4, you're going to attack the queen. Queen has to move out of the way. Once it moves, you're going to play queen over here to G6. Double attack on the bishop. Once the bishop moves, that rook is coming in. You're going to get some forced trades. And after those forced trades, you're going to eventually lose this pawn on D5. For Nakamura, just 2 moves earlier, Fabi had blundered away the game with F6. Nakamura comes back with this king E7 move to blunder the game back to him, giving Fabi the eventual win. If you go king C6, these 2 pawns on this side are going to become unstoppable without a bishop sacrifice of that dark squared bishop, and Fabi eventually won that game by resignation. Now, here's the percent of decisive games per round. Yesterday, we had 75% decisiveness in round 1. Looking at that, we were supposed to have a lot more decisive games in round 2 given the past candidates tournament. We have 3 draws right now, looking like it might be a 4th, but 50% in recent years. Going into round 5, though, we have a statistically significant difference in this 14.3. Now, I don't have my own explanation as to why this may happen. However, I do know that the break is happening right before that time. So you look at players might be more prepped for each other, might be more ready to get on to the next game and prep for their next game. I don't have the exact answers, but you all can talk to me in the comments of what you think this might be. All right, we're back to the puzzle. So I'm going to give you all 3 seconds again to try to solve it, and then we are going to solve it together. This could be easy for some, could be harder for others. And the move is Queen A7. This is a check on the king, and you're attacking the bishop as well. You might be a little bit distracted over here on the H file with your queen pinned to the king. But after this check and you take the bishop right afterwards, you're going to trade and be up a rook for 3 pawns. Now, it was awesome hanging out with you all. We are going to kick it back to the commentators in just a second, but I want to ask you all, please talk to me in the comments, have some questions for me. I'm going to be right back tomorrow with some more statistics for you all. It's been awesome hanging out, and we're going to get back to the commentators right now.
And welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much, Ben, for that segment. That was a very interesting segment on statistics.
The Ben Underwood show.
Yeah.
We'll let him enjoyed. I thank you very much,
Did a
Ben. We
great
really
job.
enjoyed it.
Let's take a look at the results so far.
Exactly. So far,
We only have one game left out of all 8 games in both open and women's section. As you can see, 3 draws. Anish Giri drew against Fabi, Wei Yi drew against Pragg, and Javokhir drew against Matthias. And the ladies, I think they all finished while we're on break. Divya also drew her game against Vaishali, and the standings, they're still sharing first place with all draws.
Exactly.
Who's going to be the first player who makes it decisive?
We thought it was going to be Zhu today because she had 2 extra pawns as black, but my goodness, Kate came up with a great rook sacrifice to make a perpetual check. I'm looking at the game between Andrey and Hikaru, the only remaining game, and I'm seeing a draw as almost 4s,
Yeah.
I want to say, after rook c2
Hikaru,
check.
Of course, it's play for 2 results, but unless Hikaru makes some big mistake, this is going to be a draw.
It would have to be, in my estimation, a massive mistake because, again, okay, if you go king e3, it's a repetition, so it really comes down to this moment where you go king d3. I'm going to go rook
G2.
here. I'm chasing this pawn, and after you go, I don't think you want to give me this f3 pawn
king
either.
E3.
King e3. Now here I have a choice, but I think I'm just going to bring my rook over to g2. I could, by
G2,
choice,
yeah.
what I meant is I could go rook g1 or rook g2. But just to bring the rook over to the a file.
Should go on the side, yes, rook c7,
Yeah,
rook a2,
rook a2.
e7, and now you'll start using your extra pawn on the king side, right? You'll play g5.
Which is the precise reason why I was going after the g3 pawn, is I wanted to give myself a pass pawn on the king
So if
side
I play
as well.
h5, will you go immediately g4, or?
Should I check you away first, like chase you away?
Even king e5 looks good. Why not?
King e5 looks very good.
Yeah.
I don't see any reasons why this won't end in a draw in case they get to this moment. Again, from the current position.
In a way, both players will be relieved because neither of these two could afford to lose today.
No, it's just too high risk. Obviously, they both lost their first game. They want to come back, get even in the tournament, but losing 2 games to start, that's like
That's it, your tournament's over.
despite it being a marathon, I don't think
of
anybody
course, miracles
recovers.
happen. You can win 2 in a row, 3 in a row, and come back.
But it's
very
so
unlikely.
rare, so rare.
Yeah.
I think Ding Liren, it was the worst case of somebody who started the first half really, really badly and then
Yes.
came back. But it's very, very rare.
But that was because also the tournament was moved
Yeah.
6 months later, right?
Yeah.
So it feels like a completely new tournament.
Exactly. We're expecting Rook C2 by...
It was played.
And it was played. Okay,
Yes,
good.
it's on the board. And I don't think, of course, Andrey will repeat right here. He will try King D3 just to test for a few more moves. But the line he showed is how we expect the game to continue and end in a draw. Not Rook F2, right? Rook G2 is way safer here. Because on Rook F2, you allow me King E3?
Correct. Right.
Oh, it's apparently losing.
Wow.
Look at that bar.
I just saw that now that you mentioned it, yeah, the border it just keeps climbing.
It's not just a slight difference. It's a difference between draw and a win.
Wow. Remarkable. Oh.
But no one's going to play Rook F2.
Yeah, one of the reasons why is there's a strange... the idea is I want to play King F4. But King F4 runs into G5 check.
So you start with a check.
So I start with a check, drive the king backwards.
I can go to E5 because you take on G6.
Right.
So I have to go to like F7.
F7 or maybe it doesn't matter. F7.
And then King F4.
Now King F4, but guess what?
H5.
I now have H5, Rook takes H6 in my quiver, as well as King takes F5. So it's really critical after King D3 that you don't go after the F3 pawn.
No, the only move that draws here is Rook G2, of course. But it's the most obvious move.
But the weird part is if somebody played Rook F2, I didn't think the consequences were so severe that, like, okay, you lost. Like, no.
Shake hands immediately.
Like,
I was not expecting that either.
No.
Of course, Rook G2 is superior, but I was like, Rook F2 should be good enough.
Wow. That's
Never
really...
think that way in chess. There's, whenever there's puzzles and you think, oh, both should work. No. One wins, the other draws usually.
Well, okay, so now that I'm thinking about it, we saw a line with the king. Okay, so if we start with a rook check and we end up trying to play
King F7.
5.
Okay. And maybe you want to go King D, but you're losing too many pawns too fast.
Okay, right? Let's do it. H5.
I take on H5.
Right, makes sense. I'll go king here.
I'll take on G3.
Makes sense. Go king here.
Okay. Let's say Rook G2.
Okay.
You did achieve something here, right?
I feel like I achieved.
But H4.
You could also chase me away.
I can play H4, and when you take on H6, then I go Rook A2, and that should be a draw.
Nicely done.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I was trying to, these rook endings, they're tricky. And sometimes all you need to do is finagle one tempo, and suddenly a draw becomes a win. Maurice, jump right in.
Well, something we talked about is luck in chess. Is there any luck in chess? After all, it's such a logical game. You're in control of your own destiny. You can think things through and make decisions. But if you're a serious tournament player, you know luck is all over this game. Anything could happen, and often does. And somebody who has a lucky star, some kind of angel who has been following her so far is Katerina Lagno, one of the favorites to win this event. But boy, she dodged 2 missiles, 2 bullets. Let me not get too violent with the imagery and just say she was dead in the water in 2 games and somehow managed to survive both and is still tied for first when she could be on 0 points. This was Katerina yesterday with the black pieces against Goryachkina. And in this moment, she played queen to D6. And on any normal day, maybe Goryachkina would find what is just simply the winning takes. And now, after the move, actually, this is what happened in the game. She misses rook takes on E5 and bishop to C5. Hand me your bishop now on E5. Whatever you do, I'm going to have 2 pieces for the rook and have a decisive advantage in this position. She did not play that move. Instead, she actually traded on e5, and there's Katerina's angel that saved her as she was able to make a draw in this game. And now, 1 day later, we're talking 1 day, people, this position happens, and here it is again. We go to this moment in the game. She's playing as white against Zhu Jinner, and Zhu Jinner is the highest rated player in the event. By the way, she was playing just now against Goryachkina, who's a world championship candidate, or a challenger, in fact. Zhu Jinner, all she has to do is play the move Queen G4 and then the beautiful castles, and it's over. But there goes that angel again, because Queen B4 happened instead, and this time she took luck into her hands and sacked a rook, took and Queen G6, and was able to repeat and make the draw. That's 2 times in a row. Usually we say you got to get lucky once to win an event. She's got lucky twice, and there's still 12 more rounds to go. If she wins this tournament, she'll thank whatever angel is around, whatever her religion is, or whatever, however she's pulling all of this off, to have managed to save the day twice when she was dead in the water.
Absolutely. Thank you, Maurice. And we're going to just take a peek ahead at what's coming up tomorrow.
For round 3. We'll get that ready, but it's funny, isn't it, how in the women's section nothing changed, but yet so much happened.
Yeah.
During the break, we're talking about those games where Queen G4 was missed by Zhu, but also by Divya it was missed Queen G4. It's same move with different colors.
Queen takes H3, last move with time control. During our break, Maurice had this great... have you ever been there at a tournament where you know you're winning and you're ready to accept your opponent's handshake, and instead of shaking hands, Queen takes H3 check, comes on the board, you go, what? Whoop!
And then you have a heart attack, like, am I losing now? Okay,
what?
It's at least a draw, but no, it feels like a loss when
it does.
Such a winning
Yeah, for those of you who missed all the action, where were you? Action's here. Right. And let's show that exact line, as a matter of fact. This was the position we have on the screen in front of me, and Divya, she just knew it was over. She was tasting the dinner. It's going to taste so sweet tonight. And what happened? She took the pawn on B7 and threatening the F7 pawn. What are you going to do? Oh, you're just trying to defend your pawn. What else is going on in the position? And all she has to do right now is say, you know what, let's just trade queens. You're down a pawn. I have a lock on the position. I got this extra pawn on A4. You're dead. It's over. Bye-bye. And that was that Queen G4 that could have been played, by the way, by Zhu Jinner. In the other game, we were talking about that funny comparison, duality. Instead, she played Queen G3. She said, I got it even worse on you. Yes, you can sack. I see your sack. No big deal. I check you. I play Rook B8. And here's the handshake. Time to resign. Good game. You know, you tried. A for effort. That's really great. And then, whap! What? Wait a second. What's this? A queen sack. Sorry, a check and a queen sack out of nowhere. And it's move 40 with 34 seconds left on the clock as well. If my data is correct here, it says 34 seconds. Queen takes H3. She must have seen it when she sacked a rook on C5 and dropped this move on the board. Never good when your opponent puts a queen in your face on H3, and you've got to recover from that blow. What happened here? Takes, check, and winning back the queen. The game ends in a draw. Spectacular, spectacular finish.
It truly, truly is. In our one remaining game, Andrey and Hikaru did find, well,
the only correct move.
I mean, its intention was telegraphed well in advance, but Rook G2 was played, and I think a draw is an inevitable outcome now. The last trick I see, again, was that whole Rook A6 check and H5. But we promised a peek ahead.
And we
tell
have
us
it
about
ready.
the pairing.
Let's start with the open section.
Please
tomorrow, round 3. Matthias Blübaum will be playing Andrey Esipenko.
Ooh.
Praggnanandhaa and Javokhir Sindarov, co-leaders, will be facing each other.
That would be a very big matchup for sure.
Absolutely, and two 20-year-olds as well.
Exactly.
Then Fabiano has white pieces against Wei Yi, and Hikaru will finally get the white pieces for the first time in this event against Anish Giri.
What will it feel like? Yes. And for the ladies?
For the ladies, who's going to be the first player who gets a score, like a full point? I'm sure we'll see it tomorrow, right?
If I was a betting man, I would have bet about today too.
True. We have Vaishali against Anna Muzachuk, Garyachkina facing Divya Deshmukh, Zhuzhiner against Bibisara,
Big matchup.
and
on the bottom boards.
Tanjonji against the luckiest player so far, Katerina Lagno.
Yeah, those last two tables, especially big pairings. Maurice.
And who was the unluckiest player so far in this event? It's got to be Zhuzhiner. I mean, we saw what happened just now against Katerina Lagno. She should have won the game with Queen G4. And the G4 square featured heavily in yesterday's game that she should have had a massive advantage after playing beautiful chess. Today she played great, took those 2 pawns. Nice sacrifice on F3. Yesterday she was playing wonderful chess as well. Let's take a look at the position when she played this novelty knight to G5.
That was great.
And then after H6, she said, "You want my knight? Go right ahead." If she had won this game and won today, we'd be sealing the signing it for it. Zhuzhiner is winning the tournament. Look at how she's playing. But she's been off because after this sacrifice, a fantastic sacrifice, H6, her opponent saw F4 and didn't accept it right away because she realized that if she did F5 and this bishop is trapped on the G4 square. So she said, "I'm not doing that. I moved my king over." And she said, "No, I insist. Now that I'm hitting F7 with my bishop as well, your bishop is hanging. You better take that knight." She took it and she said, "No, I'm not giving you a chance to take my pawn. Your bishop is still trapped." And now black was on skates trying to save this game. And there goes that G4 square. Now black is in deep trouble. She essayed this pawn sacrifice to get her knight over there, hoping against hope that her opponent does not take. And if she did, she'd play G4 and maybe get something out of this position. But that was the way white should have played. Instead, she decided to play conservatively and blinked with H3. And now her opponent said, no. Now I can play like this. And the structure has stabilized with a beautiful knight on E5. The game is more or less equal, and Zhuzhiner's massive chance with her beautiful novelty, knight G5, her fantastic sacrifice with F4. Gorgeous play was for naught. She got a half a point instead of the full point. Today, again, a half a point because instead of the full point. And she's got to be thinking, well, what did I do? What, you mean I don't even get a win out of either one of those positions? She is shaking her head massively while her two opponents, I'm glad I got rid of her in that first game. They'll see her again, though. Later in the tournament, she'll have a chance to get her revenge.
Wow, thank you, Maurice, because again, for those of you who didn't see yesterday's game, that was a huge novelty, that whole knight G5, F4. Beautiful, beautiful play by Zhu. And when you have a novelty like that prepared, that's like your ace in your sleeve, you get a chance to play it, because oftentimes you make this great preparation and you never get a chance to play it. You get the chance and you come up empty.
That
you feel
is
like
so disappointed.
Yeah, because you work so hard. I mean, to find a new idea.
It's so hard.
And it worked brilliantly. You had everything, the whole table was set, and then to come up with a draw. Because now also you revealed the novelty. You're not surprising anybody anymore. So that is a very big disappointment for Zhu, our top seed. We do have rook a6 check in this game. Sorry, Maurice, over to you.
Sorry, I know you want to get to this game. I realize it's what's happening, although it's not as exciting as some of the things that happened so far. I just want to make one final point about luck again. Today we saw this move, queen takes on h3 by Vaishali, talking again about players who feel like, whoa, I was on skates and somehow I'm still alive. You saw queen h3, spectacular sacrifice. If her opponent had found queen g4, none of that would have happened. She would have been dead in the water. Yesterday was similar. Against Bibisara, Vaishali had this position where she played the move a4, and she realized that if takes well, takes did happen in the game actually, that she couldn't take back because suddenly bishop d7 sends her rolling down a hill after bishop here hitting the rook, and then bishop b8 hitting the rook twice. This rook here, that rook there, and the queen. So she had to actually ditch the pawn. Dreams of equality, she had to bank on knight to c4. Her opponent didn't play the best move here, but it was here that bishop c6 would have really sent her reeling after takes queen to f6, and black has a fantastic position. This knight is out of play. This bishop is a beast. Queen g3 is coming with mate threat, mate threat. She would have been in deep, dire straits, actually, if this line had been played. Instead, her opponent let her off the hook. Bishop takes, and after these trading, and her own, wait a second, it's kind of funny that she sacrifices a queen, sacrifices 2 days in a row. I didn't even make that note that she got a chance to play this queen c6 necessary move, and now saved herself going into this bishop of opposite color ending and made the draw quite easily. Funny, right? She sacrifices her queen twice in this tournament, although the first one wasn't so spectacular, if you will, but she needed it. The second one today was awesome, and boy, tactics saving the day. So she's got to be feeling pretty darn lucky, as Lagno is as well.
Wow. Yeah, that's true. 2 queen sacrifices. Yeah. And remind our viewers, we're starting this marathon event with 4 games in a row.
Yes, tomorrow we'll be back for round 3. 2 more days of playing before the rest day. Then rest days kind of change. They will happen after 3 rounds. And then towards the end, after 2 days of play, they'll get rest days again. Because at the end, you know, they'll be tired, they need more rest days.
I always like playing over the weekends too, to get as large an audience as possible. So, I mean, big marathon games in front of us. There was one trick that I don't think we got a chance to see in the remaining game between Andrey and Hikaru. I had been looking at h5 in this position as one way of trying to wrong
create
foot
something.
Yeah, h5, gh, bring my king here, and we saw a game. But how about this? Have you ever won a game where it was just like
The king was the hero?
Yeah, exactly. And like, okay, here it's a terrible move. This is, you don't even think about making this move, because suddenly after king f6, you regret the fact that you have an f pawn, and, you know, because now suddenly, you know, you're picking up a tempo against the king and all of this good stuff.
Even here, black still holds after king e8.
Oh, does he even hold
even
here?
Of course, king f8 didn't have to be played, but...
Because I was on one of these rook e7, a6 variations.
Yeah, it's just not fast enough.
No kidding.
Rook a3 immediately.
Rook a3, rook check.
And king d8.
And
on a7, I have rook a6.
What?
Okay, rook a6 check. I'm just not giving you any pawns.
You're not giving me any...
Okay, this is very dangerous, but I'm right on time, right? King c8, king b7.
You are. Sorry, that was a surprising thing that you had king c8. And, okay, yes.
And then in the pawn endgame, my f pawn is really fast.
Oh no!
Oof,
oh no!
That's so
okay,
close.
no, did not work.
So many trickies in the rook endgames, even though it looks just a draw.
Exactly.
No, it's still. Will Andrey try any of this, or just take?
I suspect he'll play h5, but. You know, as we've seen, it's just, there's just not enough in the position for a legit.
I mean, I'm sure both players know this is a draw, but since white's not risking absolutely anything, I would play. You would too, right?
Of course. By the way, when we talk about luck in chess, I think for a lot of amateur players, they don't realize just how many different pieces of luck a player can have. So, you know, you as an amateur player, you say to yourself, I got lucky, I drew a lost position. And yes, that is good luck that you managed to draw a lost position. But also, like we saw, you got a chance to play a preparation. So you're lucky that your opponent walked
Right
into the preparation. She wasn't rewarded with a victory, but there's luck when you get to use your preparation. Then another type of luck is actually the color allocation coming at pairings coming exactly you play the opponent you're playing has just lost 2 games in a row. They're depressed, and you're playing them at exactly that moment. Or counterwise, you're playing an opponent who is white, who absolutely needs a draw for whatever reasons, but you do too.
Yeah, and you have black.
And you have black, and you just get an easy draw because both players really need it to advance or whatever it is that's going on. And so there's a lot of different ways that you can get lucky during a tournament. And in this tournament, you need a lot of luck. So a lot of things have to go your way.
What about the unlucky situation of playing Garry Kasparov after he lost?
Yeah, and that was the other thing. Whenever I was playing in a tournament with Gary and there was a drawing of lots, everybody wanted to follow Gary. like Gary was like a bowling ball just knocking down all of these opponents, and you wanted the opponent after Gary just destroyed them.
Funny you mentioned that, because when I was playing US Championship, I was lucky enough that my opponents had to play Carissa first. And then me. So I was playing them after they just suffered a great loss.
Right, depressed and whatever.
That is a big luck, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's a lot of different... And for you, Maurice, when you think about some lucky moments that occurred for you.
You know, one of the fortunate things that happened to me, I don't know what you might call this one. We're going for my second GM norm in Bad Wiessee, Germany. It's the 9th round. I have to play Viktor Gavrikov, and I need to make a draw. And I was with my good buddy Josh Waitzkin, both playing at the tournament. And I'm laying in bed the morning of, fast asleep, and then all of a sudden, something tells me to get up and check what time the round starts. And I get up out of bed, like, wait a second, something's weird. And I go to the booklet that we had, and it turned out that the round started in 5 minutes. And I'm like, what the heck? I go bang on Josh's door, and I said, Josh, the round starts in 5 minutes, which was basically 2 hours earlier than the day before. And, you know, sometimes rounds start early on the last day, and they had made that announcement in German the night before, but, of course, we weren't listening because we don't understand any German. So we get up, hurry up, get ready, no breakfast, nothing. Race to the tournament hall. Everybody's sitting there peacefully. It must have taken us 20 minutes maybe to get ourselves together and get to the hall. No food, no nothing. I got to play 25-75 Gavrikov, and I am desperate for my second norm. And this guy tortures me for 70 moves, all the way to a rook and pawn ending, by the way. And I finally make the draw and get my second GM norm. Now what woke me up 5 minutes before the round started, it just in a flush, let me go check what time the round starts. Just like that. We could have forfeited the last round if we had just kept sleeping.
Right, that sounds insanely lucky. By the way, that's your third GM norm. You would have been crying.
Oh, that was for sure.
The round starts 2 hours early.
Yep, and
wow,
I had a fantastic
a
tournament, by the way. I mean, I was having a great tournament. I was 6-0 until I missed the win against Kazimzhanov. Rustam ducked, and I got a draw from him, and then I lost to Halifman in the next round, and that's when I needed to make the draw in the last round against Gavrikov. But I was playing superb chess. I was leading the tournament, as a matter of fact.
Wow, Maurice is dropping superstar GM names.
Well, you just said Rustam and Halifman, two FIDE world champions that you were playing. Pretty good. Nice.
I still taste that win against Rustam would have been incredible. A nice queen sack that would have won, actually. And it was a beautiful knight move that would have led to his beautiful fork. But I missed it, and we ended up drawing. And Halifman beat me comprehensively. A really nice game with the black pieces. But then Gavrikov, that rook ending, I had to survive on no food on the stomach, too. That was epic. Just to get your GM title, the things you have to go through sometimes.
Right.
Maurice, I don't think that was lucky. You absolutely earned that.
Yeah.
Well, that game I earned it, but
Yeah.
whatever woke me up 5 minutes before the round,
Yeah.
what was that about? I think I had seen in the, well, you know, round start early from time to time.
Yeah,
anyway.
in Europe, it's
in
kind
Europe
of
it
common.
often happens.
Yeah.
But I think I had seen it on day one when I was looking at the booklet, right, the brochure, and I was like, oh, okay, and everything. Okay, got it. I think I had seen it and had forgotten about it. But why 5 minutes before the round starts?
Right.
I mean, it could have been 20 minutes before the round started and give me less time on the clock. And I already lost time having to race to the tournament hall. It was the weirdest thing walking into the tournament hall and everything was dead quiet, but we were harried. We were like, and you walk in and everybody's just chilling and calmly looking at chess. It was ridiculous. We did shower. We did shower.
Right.
Going there offensive. But.
Great story. Turning to our remended game. Yeah, Andrey did go for one of those lines. I was suggesting back here after Rook G2, he may have reached for the H pawn and tried H5 to open up this avenue of Rook takes H6 and maybe a king march to F4. He tried a second alternative. We just looked at it, actually, king E5.
The only move that draws is Rook F3, but you don't even have other moves. What would you even consider?
Exactly. I mean, exactly. And this is a winning threat. Rook check, oops.
Yeah.
And then if you put your king on E8, I've got mating ideas with king E6. But yes, it just so happens that after rook takes, rook check, king, and we had gone down this, and it's just, the tempo is just
the king
right.
go walk into C8.
C8, and just in time.
Yeah.
Let me just, now see, it would be wrong of us not to ask you, what was one of the lucky moments in your career where, okay, you didn't forfeit or something like that, but what happened?
No, but I think the luckiest moment, and I have mentioned this before, was actually it was the European Championship under 16, and the first
World Championship.
Yeah, but the first prize was the scholarship in the U.S. And I'm in a dead loss position. My opponent has a rook and pawns. I only have bishop and 2 pawns.
Ooh.
I have to resign, but I'm waiting to reach move 40 and then I'll resign.
Right.
We're on move 40. She's with black. And she thought she already reached move 40 and she flags.
No.
That's how I got to move to United States.
You won the scholarship.
I won the scholarship. So I can't explain it any other way
and
but
you went
pure
to
luck.
Maryland at Baltimore?
Yes,
That was the scholarship. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Changed my whole life trajectory in that moment when she flagged.
Remarkable. I like the story, not my story, but the story of Boris Golko. So Boris Golko, he was playing in a Soviet competition, and his opponent was blind. Mm-hmm. And the opponent had a Braille chess set, one of those wooden chess sets where the squares, 32 squares are elevated, 32 squares are less so, and his opponent had been carefully moving his hands over and so on. And so Boris got a position where he had 3 pawns on the king side and a king and a rook. And his opponent had 3 pawns on the king side and a king and a bishop. So essentially Boris is winning. He's just an exchange up and easily winning. And he goes rook on f1 to b1. Mm-hmm. Just bringing the rook, so kind of casual move. And then he saw across the table that the opponent's hands were suddenly like freaking out, like just going ecstatic. Mm-hmm. So Boris was like, what's going on? And the man played bishop on g2 takes b1.
Oh.
He put his rook on pre. And Boris said to himself after the game, who was blind? He or my opponent. And that was a case of being unlucky. We do have king e8.
We all have plenty of stories of being unlucky. I don't remember any
Don't
of
even
that.
go. We shouldn't go there on that one. I'm looking for some tricks for
just gonna-
Andrey.
see a couple more moves until
King
they
F6.
shake hands.
What else could I do?
King
okay.
E6. You can start with
Okay, King E6. That's a good
Then
start.
provoke a check on E3. I don't even think it's necessary. I could go King D8.
King D8 even? Yeah, but I thought...
Yeah, I would give a check.
Check. King
F6.
F6.
And then F4.
I was
Why
even
not?
going to go after the H-pawn, but F4, why not?
Yeah, but my pawn is faster than A pawn at this point.
Yeah. Oh, and with my king on F6.
Why would Andrey risk this?
No, that's not what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, so current position, the king is on E8.
Okay, so excuse me. Let me just... yeah, there we go. Check King E8.
I would go King F6 and...
Yes.
Yeah, there's not much to calculate for black or for white.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so King F6. Well, I don't really want to see any tricky, so I'm probably playing G5.
Yes, F4 is probably good enough, but let's
F4
trade the
also.
pawns, yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
no. The more I'm thinking about it, F4 is like just a brilliant move. Yeah, it shuts down everything.
Goes really fast. Yeah,
it really does. It's like, why did I put my king all the way up the board and let the pawn run? Yeah.
I think it's a good time to check over and over again and leave.
Oh, just on A8, A7?
Yeah. Let's play a few checks. We'll repeat the position and we go home.
Yeah.
There's your A pawn is not near as potent as you think it is.
No,
just is not. And the rook's going to get behind it. You have no way of playing for any tricks. Okay, maybe you might play a few more moves just because, but don't blunder this away.
Yeah, exactly. By the way,
and Andrey's going down to 5 minutes, so I think he will take that draw.
Yeah.
Actually, he's played A6.
All right.
Sorry, did he play A6? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Now, does Hikaru absolutely have to go Rook A3? Probably. Right? Because then you don't want to walk into those tactics where Rook H7, A7 works.
Precisely, yeah. So you definitely, and at the same time, you're just making the F pawn a faster runner by getting out of the way. I mean, I'm anticipating King E6, King D8, the lines that you've been mentioning.
Oh, that's a funny line, actually. Let's show King E6, King D8.
Yeah.
And if white goes King D6, you can't go King C8.
That is, yeah.
It's an unusual checkmate.
You think you're dodging the checkmate, but oops.
Yeah. So what do you do after King E6? Go back.
I guess I have to go back to E8 and just sidestep. But to Maurice's great story there, and to just share with our American audience that it very, very often happens in European tournaments, that they take the last round and make it 2 and even sometimes 3 hours early, so they have a closing ceremony in the evening.
Or tie breaks, right?
Or tie breaks or something of that nature. And Michael Steen told me this wonderful story. He was playing in Hastings, the very, very famous Hastings tournaments, and they had this Czech grandmaster, Vlastimil Hort, who was playing in the tournament as well. And he didn't get the memo. So Michael explains that he'd come to the round at like 10 in the morning. Everybody's like still groggy, having coffee. Half the players are there. And then 30 minutes in the tournament, everybody's there, except for Vlastimil. 50 minutes in the tournament, everybody's there except for Vlastimil. And then suddenly, bam, doors fly open. And in strides this huge man, Vlastimil Hort. He was pretty big and stout. He goes, "You know, it is terrible. The alarm, it doesn't work. And I must run like a rabbit to tournament hall." Well, this run like a rabbit, that just killed everybody. Michael said nobody could continue their game. Everybody made a draw after the run like a rabbit explanation.
So back then you could be late for about an hour before it would be forfeited, right?
Literally an hour, 59 minutes, and there are stories of people, Bent Larson being one of them, being literally 59 minutes late.
Yeah, now I think it's in some tournaments maximum 10 minutes, and that's it.
Yes, I think recently.
And most are like 0.
Yeah, they had zero tolerance for a while, but there was a Magnus at an Olympiad.
Magnus has this tendency to come late. So.
Well, he somehow it was city traffic, and he's losing. He's going to lose the game for sure. Somehow he got on a bicycle, navigated past all the traffic, and just barely beat the forfeit.
And then I remember he forgot the badge to enter, and they were not letting him in. He's like, "I'm Magnus Carlsen."
Sometimes the security guys, oh my gosh, yeah, those Olympics, you literally you're at the board and you're so focused, and then suddenly you make the time control and you're so relieved, and then you go, okay, let me go to the bathroom, wash my hands, wake up, whatever, and you've taken off the badge. You're just not even aware. You just took this necklace off and you put it on the hall. You walk out, and then you try to walk back in, and the guy says, and now you're like, somebody get my captain. Yeah.
They're very strict at the Olympiad.
Yeah, those they can be. King E6, King D8. That was a very, very good move.
We might see King D6, King E8, and repeat that way. Just the king dance back and forth.
Exactly.
But what else is there left for white to try, right?
Well, let's see. H5 makes no sense.
Okay,
GH.
There's no pawns left for white on the king side. Nothing to play for.
No, I think we're about to see a handshake in this style.
Yeah, Andrey's down to 4 minutes.
And this would be remarkable. 8 draws and no victories whatsoever in the ladies.
Very tough start for Hikaru. Of course, yesterday's game, 80+ moves. He loses in the end. And today, it's like 50. Over 50 moves. The longest game. And 2 blacks for Hikaru. Yeah, it's just a really unlucky pairing for him from the beginning.
Yesterday, Anastasiya asked Fabi, did he want to try to take advantage of Hikaru's rustiness, Hikaru not having played a lot of classical games at all, and he said no, that wasn't a real issue for him. Well, guess what? For Hikaru, he's being tested suddenly by playing these long games, and I'm sure it was just inadvertent.
But I would say this is actually a good thing for Hikaru.
Yes.
Right?
It is.
To be playing these games, to shake that rust off. And I will also say, if you get 2 blacks, it's not impossible or out of bounds to believe that in one of those games you'll lose. So, okay, you got, anywhere in the tournament, right? So you got it out of the way at the beginning. You're now walking a fine line. But with 12 more rounds to go, you'll have 7 whites and 5 blacks.
Right.
And there's a long tournament ahead. So I think if anybody can bounce back, the person who is one of the most resilient people we've ever seen is Hikaru Nakamura. And I think with a draw today, he'll say, okay, I righted the ship, didn't lose this one. Now it's my turn, people. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him win a game and get to 50% and then start grabbing a couple of games after that. He did mention in an interview beforehand, he said, you're not going to win the tournament at the beginning. It's very rare that happens. People like Nepo, who ran away with the second time around. But it's rare that happens. What you want to be is in it near the end. You want to get a couple of games and then be in it near the end. +3 could get you to tiebreak very easily. +3. So if he could just win one of the next couple of games and get to 50%, and then he's got a long set where somewhere he steals 1 or 2, then he's at +2 with 3 rounds to go. Then he'll have real things to look forward to. And the game has ended in a draw.
Oh, did they agree to a draw? Because they can offer a draw after move 40.
No, we may have seen...
No, there's no more moves. They just agreed to a draw because after move 40, players are allowed to offer a draw.
Oh, I see.
So Andrey must have offered with king f6 move, he offered a draw.
I see.
Because, all the pawns are about to get traded and there's nothing to play for. And that's our final result of the day.
Wow.
All draws.
After all the fireworks of round 1, at least in the men's tournament. But we had some very exciting
Of course,
fights.
and a lot of missed opportunities. especially in the women's section. So let's take a look at the updated standings.
Indeed.
Nothing's changed. We know that, but just a reminder, 3 players sharing first. Fabiano Caruana, Praggnanandhaa, and Javokhir Sindarov. With 50%, it's Wei Yi and Matthias Blübaum.
And the current standings for the ladies?
How do you want to say it? Sharing first or sharing last? They all have 50% score.
Yeah. Zhu being the unlucky and
Katerina being the lucky.
luckiest one, according
Yes.
to Maurice. Well, Maurice, I think you get the last word before we come back tomorrow for round 3.
Well, we've been talking about luck, and sometimes you have to make your own luck.
Yeah.
But what I will say is that we 3 are the luckiest of all. We get to watch all this excitement from the side and not suffer at all, but just watch this amazing chess unfold in one of the premier tournaments of the year. Tournaments that will decide the future of chess potentially, who will be challengers to the World Championship titles later this year. It's amazing, and it's so much fun. And today, I'm going to remember my takeaway. Queen takes H3 check. What a move on move 40 at that.
Yeah.
Just brilliant stuff.
Yeah, Hail Mary with the Queen on C8. Predictions. Well, I know as far as the ladies, I'm in first. I think the rest of you guys are in last. Dead last.
We're all quite happy. We're all sharing first, except for VAR, because Hikaru's still at -1.
Wow, and Anastasiya with
Fabi has a
pride.
lot of fans in this club, doesn't
I
he?
can see that. I can see that. With good reason, of course.
Yes. But there's a long way to go, 12 more rounds coming up. Well, thank you everyone for watching. Join us again tomorrow at the same time for round 3.
Good night from St. Louis.
This has been a presentation of the St. Louis Chess Club. Any reproduction or distribution of this content without the express written consent of the St. Louis Chess Club is prohibited.